Well, that thread's going to shit.
Here's your topic for today. Is the male gaze okay? I don't know, when people see really hot women, like they got nice juicy butt, something that I wish I could have, but I really like looking at it, or men's bodies that are built attractively, is it really an issue? What exactly makes it an issue? And why is everyone deciding that it's better that we get ugly, like they got nice juicy butt, something that I don't know, when people see here's your topic for today. Is the male gaze okay?
Is the male gaze okay? To pontificate on whether or not the male gaze is or is not okay, you have to pontificate on whether or not the female gaze is or is not okay. And after you pontificate about whether or not it is or is not okay, you have to then ask yourself, is it acceptable to even put a limitation on it? Then you have to remember that you're talking about fictional human beings. And then extrapolate. By them being fictional, does it remove any diegetic that is relevant for the purposes of understanding any or everything that could be associated with ogling, since that's what we're talking about, ogling? More than likely the answer is no. Because if there's a problem with ogling, then that means behavior needs to be talked about at all times. Not just when a person conveniently decides they want to be upset about somebody else looking at somebody else's body. Especially if what we're talking about is not, this person's ogling me because they want to treat me like I'm not a person. But is instead, this person is just appreciating the human form. And then, of course, if it is a person that finds themselves being looked at attractively, do they or do they not understand what they're doing is or isn't important? And or something you should worry about. And then concern from there, and then pontificate endlessly. You ask the question enough, you can have somebody justifying it no matter what the fuck they do. And then at that point, what the fuck are we talking about? We're not about that, the big cheeses. Honestly, If all of it's okay, then it's fine. If none of it's okay, then we gotta decide what the hell we talking about. Otherwise, we can't even have the discussion. Because way too many fucking times, there are people who decide that when it's a female, it's wrong. When it's a male, it's always right because they've never been sexualized like this. I, for one, think that it's a cop-out. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to worry about it. You wouldn't even have to ask the question. It just is what it is, I guess. But ultimately, single answer TLDR. Yes, the male gaze is fine. The female gaze is fine. Because they're lenses. The moment that you decide that these lenses are not lenses, but are instead boxes in which you can cage somebody else's perspective and outlook to the world, you are now trying to control people's behavior. And that's unacceptable.
When people see really hot women, like they got nice juicy butt, something that I wish I could have, but I really like looking at it, or men's bodies that are built attractively, is it really an issue? What exactly makes it an issue? And why is everyone deciding that it's better that we get ugly characters rather than super attractive ones?
Graphical fidelity versus stylization of the body and perspective. So looking at this shit peeves me. The bottom half makes no sense with the top half. Excuse me. This shit peeves me. The bottom half makes no sense with the top half. I get sex sells, but Jesus fucking Christ, not every single thing has to sell it. Especially if it's some badass armor, but you say fuck it to the half of the design. Typical easy Kuma bait. Now, obviously, this is just false because this is talking about the Miss Fantastic Demise skin, which this is more tame than her comic book appearance. It had less skin, or rather, more skin. Spray. It's fine, they don't know. And ultimately, that's a question in and of itself. Does everything, even though that sex can sell, or rather, beauty can sell, mean that everything has to sell a specific formulation of beauty? Yes and no. Because if it's in the vision of the person who made the product, then it doesn't fucking matter. Why should they change their vision for your shallow self-perspective? But then there's more. It's already pretty much in every other game alive. Well, that's obviously not true. And there's pretty much other Gunnar feeding bait characters, but I'm just a silly, stupid Jeff main, so don't mind me. I mean, why complain then? You're playing a comical character. Do you want to really do you really want to stand on that fucking hill with Jeff the Shark? Of all things of Marvel Rising? Because there's plenty of fucking porn that's being made of this character. I've unfortunately seen it. Want to talk about some fucking Gunnars? These furries are eaten. They're fucking consuming. Wisdom Rail Fin with twig waists, triple BBLs, broke back syndrome. I mean, considering the fact that the person who's the body scan of at least two of the heroes is literally just a normal e-girl, that's just not true either. Because this is what you wanted. You wanted graphical fidelity. You wanted body scans. You wanted to use body actors, face actors, and voice actors to create the dimensions of design. And unfortunately, if we can use the technology to get a full body scan of a person's body to the point that the curvature of her ass is on the base skin and then is on the main skin, I'm sorry. The rig is the rig. The rig is the rig. Shit, half this was the shit that fucking made Overwatch even have a fucking platform in which to speak on. So again, what are we fucking talking about? Seems like a whole lot of hoopla, a whole lot of bullshit to justify an outlook that you just don't understand. Because then you go to say this about Squirrel Girl. Besides Squirrel Girl, one of the most broken, non-broken, whack-ass looking body, and I'm thin, so it's not because she looks like me, lol. Don't make it get started on Penny Parker and all I hear just pictures me off. Of course, I'm not a man with male's gaze, though. If you're a lesbian, just say that. Have fun. Otherwise, what exactly are you complaining about? You're not being electrified by these people. A bit bizarre, no? Shouldn't you focus on the shit that matters?
We're gonna be looking at some of these posts, and I'm gonna try and be as nice as possible because I'm super tired. But these people seem as though they're really looking for direction, and maybe it's just confusing to them because maybe of how they grew up, maybe they're super religious or something. I'm not really sure. Which is funny because the group of people
You have an update from Mika. Okay, what is the update from Mika? What are we listening to? We're listening to Altair's video. Wrong window. Wrong window. Wrong window. Wrong window 4 times, Carl. What's wrong with male gaze? I mean, I've always been inside the Balatro rabbit hole. Twitter post. Okay, thank you. Mika is contemplating quitting her entire YouTube channel because she punched up and Ethan responded. Pathetic behavior. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. I'm going to put out 2 more videos for January. I signed the sponsor contracts like 2 months ago, so I want to fulfill them after that. I genuinely do not know what I'm going to do. I've always said that if YouTube affects my IRL, I'm stepping away. The recent events have come very close to that, as well as my socials are staying private. I'm not accepting followers because I generally don't care for clout, and I wanted to yap online and pay my student loans. That's so bitch-made. Oh my lord, that is so bitch-made. That's crazy. That is a crazy thing to fucking be upset about. I swear. Okay. Losing my place because I'm looking at the big cheese. We're just going for pies? We're just going for pies. Please let that be the last big cheese. Well, fuck me. Silly, I guess. Where was I? Ah, yes. Mika, how the fuck can you get upset? You decided that you wanted to fucking fight with the internet, and you lost. That's all there is to it. You fought with the internet, you lost. And now you're mad about it. It's bizarre that you choose to be upset about that. You wanted to punch up at a content creator. You waited specifically until he went on break to make your videos talking shit about him. Both you and Adam McIntyre are deciding that you want to be the ones to say how you have to justify yourself being a fan of him. And then him making content looking to get clout the same way that you are being given attention and clout. He's upset that he's not getting his videos looked at. That's an entirely separate cope. But you wanted to antagonize him. You got what you were looking for, and now you're upset that he's responding to you. He's just responding to you. He's not attacking you. He's not antagonizing you. He's just responding to you. And that's too much. That's bullshit in and of itself. Frankly. Then it's affecting my IRL. Are there people calling your job? Are there people directly harassing you? Are there people cyberstalking you and reporting back to him about everything that you do? No, then your life is not over. You don't get to say it's affecting my personal IRL. If it's affecting your personal IRL, that's on you. That ain't got shit to do with anybody fucking else. It's cool. 100%. If you don't want to talk shit, you don't want to get hit, think about the fact that you made that before that. Did I say that it got delayed again? I did. I did indeed. I was talking about that at the end of the stream the other day. For games that I know that I don't want to purchase, but there are people that are interested in seeing it being torn apart, what we're going to probably do is we're going to do an individual fundraiser for that money. That money will put aside and we stocked away specifically for that purchase, and then that purchase will be made for it. So if they want content out of something like Assassin's Creed Shadows or any other game that's coming up and I don't pay money out of my pocket, that's going to be how we crowdsource the money for it. If it doesn't fulfill within a certain time period or a time frame that I put on for myself, the money will be put aside and then spent towards the next thing that people have interest for. Because I don't want to just take the money for nothing. One of the many ways that we can start paying back members' content and community content. Because I want there to be more interaction on that scale. Especially based on interest. Not just mine, but everybody else's as well. Now, if I can get the game for free, like I did with Dustborn, and get it to function and work, then that will be an easier methodology. But these AAA releases, it's not going to be easy to get a Yo-Ho copy. I have to pay out of pocket for them. And since the one that I'm going to be digging into soon being the end of February, is Monster Hunter Wilds. If we would like to cover something else that's going to be releasing at that time period, I would like it to be the week before the game's release. Something like that. I just have to decide what game I would like to do that to start with, if not Assassin's Creed Shadows. Ah, my nose. Alright. Alright, she runs away from the internet, that's on her. And that's fucking whatever. This Lord have fucking mercy. It's just embarrassing. Adam's video was completely fucking it's just a nothing burger. Her video was a nothing burger. Her response to this is a nothing burger. So boring. Anyways, back to this.
I see pearl clutching the hardest when it comes to fantasy characters, ironically, are people who are anti-religion, anti-conservative, in terms of their lifestyle, which is actually really confusing to me because wasn't it the other way around before, where people thought, oh no, the video games are gonna get you, and if your kids are killing stuff in the video game, they're gonna go out and do it in real life, or it's a gateway to hell and all this foolishness. And now you have the people on the flip side saying and echoing the same sentiments, which is really, really odd to me. So I think we should start off with what male gaze means. The definition of it so far is the perspective of a notionally typical heterosexual man considered as embodied in the audience or intended audience for films and other visual media, characterized by a tendency to objectify or sexualize women. Simply
Yes, of course.
put, it's when a male looks at something and likes it because it's attractive, particularly when he looks at a woman. But it's okay if women look at women and women look at men, but it's not okay when men do it because apparently patriarchy and all that jazz. And
Well, that's because Elterori. Then we're talking about female gaze. Men, apparently, according to feminists that believe this, believe that men look at women as objects, whereas women that are homosexual look at women as woodland creatures. More accurately, mythical woodland creatures. To see a lesbian sapphic in the wild would be akin to seeing a majestic gazelle. And so, they fawn over them the same way. The problem is that both of them are looking at that person as an object. The male is looking at them as a potentially unattainable or obtainable object that can satisfy an urge, whereas the female observes them as an obtainable or unobtainable object, either to strive to persevere to, or attempt to become if they cannot be with it. The problem for both of these, like I said before, I believe both of you came in, or I had noticed you were here, is that it's still objectification either way. And then on top of objectifying it, the viewpoint that then allows you to claim, but it's different when we do it, is the same mindset that has women saying, you can't look at them like that. This isn't for you, it's for the gays. Really, at this point, if it wasn't obvious enough, it's for the gays is another way of saying we claimed it. One of the things that I've seen and heard from the non-queers, because Lord knows that these homosexuals are saying she's giving mother, is that they don't like that their particular type of horny is in the viewpoint of men. Meaning, they're ogling her the exact same way and saying, "Excuse me, ma'am, you're girling, ma'am, you're girling, ma'am, please, you're girling so hard, I can't stand it." But they don't like that the potential that the girling can be seen by a man is not an absolute value of 0%. So for as long as the mindset says, you can't have it because I say so, the gaze is nothing more than a selfish view that looks into the mindset of what women are or are not comfortable with as a demographic. The obvious problem here being that this does not respect what women are as individuals. Whether or not an individual woman would say a man has a right to look at a woman like this, or a man was to say a woman has a right to look at another woman or a man like this, would be a back and forth problem. But of course, goons could just goon together in harmony. When it comes to Marvel Rivals, there is obvious levels of equal male and female goonery. So much so that we have been outright just calling out that it's the same old culture war shit. Because bait used to be believable. Bait used to be believable. Like Namor, Mr. Fantastic, Hawkeye, Iron Fist, Magic, the Hulk, Spider-Man, Venom. Anything that isn't an animal or an inanimate object or sentient creature like Groot. Each and every single one of them is stylized to be heroic. They have heroic shapes, they have heroic builds, they have heroic figures. It's hypocritical for them to get upset and say this is comical, because yeah, they are comic book characters. They're meant to embody a standard. That's why they're superheroes. Suspension of disbelief is not necessary. It's literally the environment where you can do anything you want. Well, where you could do anything you want them to be realistic. Okay, we'll add stretch marks to Sue Storm. After they kinetically add in the Richardsons, that's a reality warper. Would that be acceptable? Like, what are we talking about at that point? If they're just upset that they don't like that other people are looking at them like this, which is the case of the example there, then there's no reason to talk about anything. Go outside. Stop playing the game. It's time for you to unwind.
I'm only saying it's a response to this person's comment. You know, we're gonna get into why the male gaze exists and why it's not a bad thing. But this person seems to be either highly insecure with certain body types of women or insecure about themselves. But they did add at the end, of course, I'm not a man with male gaze, though. I don't know what the point of that was, but I know this might sound crazy, but let's dissect this in all of its glorious hypocrisy. See, the male gaze isn't this sinister patriarchal plot to oppress women. It's biology doing what it's meant to do. Men like looking at women. That's the whole, we're visual creatures as humans. A lot of animals are actually visual. When you use your eyes and something grabs your attention easily, when you're always caught looking at your phone, you can't even pick your head up to have a conversation with someone, that's your eyes. Men like looking at women. Shocking, I know. But here's also the kicker that people don't understand, or they just conveniently forget when it comes to conversations like this. Women like looking at men too.
And gay men like looking at gay men. And gay women like looking at gay women, and straight women like looking at straight women. Especially platonically.
Behold, the human condition. Oh my god. You know what's even funnier? The same people who screech male gaze will fawn over their fictional husbands in all of this anime. Like, if you just go and look at Pinterest and some of the things that people are leaving on there.
Don't you believe it? You will see shit that you will not be comfortable with.
Comments that people are leaving on there. If a guy were to leave the same comment about a female, they would cancel him. I mean, they're like, you know, oh my god, you know, I want to swallow all. I mean, there's some stuff on there that's like, dude, are you also the same ones that you look at their accounts and they're the same ones bitching when men are looking at a fantasy female character, another anime character? Oh, he's disgusting, must be a neckbeard. Like, bro, you were literally just doing the exact same thing he was doing, so that doesn't make any sense, right?
The worst one that I've ever seen was a woman type something underneath a guy who was slim cut with a nice V, and she said, I want to be able to drip honey packs all the way down his abdomen and down to his crack and lick it up and down and around with a swirl and then gargle, rinse for 13 days. And I vomited upon reading it because, first off, that's a lot of fucking money to spend on a fucking aphrodisiac honey just to waste it. 2, felching. And then lastly, it was a housewife. And her desire to brag about what she was going to do to this fictional man, which was drawn after the looks of a real model, hurt my soul. It physically annoyed me. It didn't help that on that particular day I happened to be sick, but that doesn't mean shit, really. At the end of the day, don't go to Pinterest. Buy stuff off there if you wish, but don't go to Pinterest and expect to not creep up on some cut in the booty hole. Because these women are feral. It's female dominating. It's women posting it. They're feral.
You can idolize men as a woman in superhero movies and anime and whatever you want, even real, like, IRL, not IRL, but yeah, but they do it in IRL too. You can touch a guy's abs without his consent, but suddenly the female gaze is empowering and liberating, right? That's okay. But a sexy woman in a video game is problematic. And let's not forget, like, the lesbians, you know, there are lesbian women who enjoy the sight of gorgeous female characters. Are they also guilty of perpetuating the male gaze? Or
yes. The short answer, the most honest short answer is yes, they are. Because ultimately they are the men of women. The more butch she is, then the more man she is. On the parallax between woman, man, lesbian, and heterosexual, they are the permanent supply and demand line. If she's attractive enough for the femme women, but she's masculine enough for the mask women, but the feminine women still want to be with her and around her and in her presence, but at the same time can be made to be comfortable because of her being in her presence. Measurements of where that line intersects directly says how much of a man they are. So, workshop lesbian, works at a factory, chapstick lesbian for 100-year degrees, but makes a lot of money, has 3 days out of the week that she can spend to focus on the things that that person wants to be involved with and wants to get into, and smells like cocoa butter every other day of the week. Feminine enough. They end up being feminine enough. And in being feminine enough, but still masculine enough, they can have their pull of whatever person they want. They can have their field of whoever they want, whatever they want, whenever they want, And the factor that makes it acceptable is money. And that she doesn't have penis. When they become too ugly, then it's seen as bad. So, let's say a humorous, funny routine. The whole Monique drop them draws, Denzel. Denzel, I don't know what the hell you going on in here. Show me that ass, nigga! The more ugly the woman, even if the woman is attractive enough, will still be treated as not acceptable. Because, hey, who wants to be sexually aggressed by an ugly woman? It wraps back around to the trope of assault is acceptable as long as the man in question comically takes it. Now, slide that closer to the feminine scale, and you get into the sapphic lens territory, where they go beyond just being a normal lesbian, and they become... Yes, I kissed my wife in the mouth. Hello, Buster. They then suffer from the opposite problem. They get infantilized. Then you start talking about the, why didn't she infantilize herself by using a baby voice type shit. There are lots of people that would say, well, she gets respected if she doesn't do that. But really, it just comes down to, is she manipulating? Most of the people who want to talk about it treat it as though a woman is manipulating for those purposes. I guess we're going full sound. That a woman is manipulating for those purposes. Rip headphone users. Is manipulating for those purposes because they're being looked at a particular way or being treated as though they are a particular way. I have to heal him. Oh, fuck us. Come on, sound. That's crazy, Reggie. Anyways, she gets put onto the scale of infantilization, where women then look at her again like she is a spiritual living creature. Angel, babyface, baby cakes, a bunch of shit. I'll really spit on these skulls. I lost my train of thought because the guy made a mistake. When they slide further up on the feminine side of the scale, they get infantilized and treated as though sexuality of that design is unacceptable, should never be done, blah blah blah, insult to a person, blah 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 blah. And then, as long as they get that viewpoint, it will be seen as an acceptable excuse, that it's acceptable and fine because, hey, we're all girls here. I'm not a man. This isn't where we're prone to see the aggressive scale of lesbians, because they are ultimately people who believe that they are entitled to making a woman feel as though she is comfortable. Then you lose all perspective. So, the more masculine the lesbian, the more aggressive they are considered. Whether or not they actually are. The more feminine they're considered, the more they're treated like a dainty little thing, and oh, aren't you just so cute, or damn, isn't she so fucking hot? What the hell is he doing? Nothing, apparently. Nigga, damn!
Or does that little nugget of reality blow the whole argument out of the water? I know I've told this story before, but it bears repeating. And I don't mean that this speaks for all lesbians, but in every situation, the 3 situations where I've been approached by lesbians, I mean like physically touch kind of thing, they were always being saucy without my consent. They're the
Exactly.
most forward people, like it. And one of them was my friends. It was super embarrassing. If she's watching this right now, I've already said it in another video, but yes, you were kind of creepy. Like, you're cute, but you were creepy. Right in front of all of her friends, she's feeling me up and grabbing my ass, and I'm like, you know, and she's just like, damn, that body, you know what I do to you? And I'm like, what the? I'm like, Crystal, or I said her name, whatever. But I'm like, dude, can you chill? And our friends are like, our other 4 friends are just watching us, and they look so awkward. Like, it was such an awkward situation. And then she grabs my ass, and I said, stop. Like, you could tell, like everyone could tell, like, I don't like that. Can you not do that? And she didn't listen. She just smiling and grabbing my ass. And I don't have that much ass to grab and to begin with, but you know, it is what it is. And I
It's the principality of the backside.
slap her hand away, and I yell at her, and I'm like, stop. And I usually don't do that. I don't like being confrontational. I just let things happen. But that time I was super embarrassed. And then you know what she does? She keeps smiling at me and grilling me and violating me with her eyes. And she says, I like them when they're feisty or something like that. I don't remember which, but said something along those lines. She was licking her lips. And I just was like, okay, I feel like something's gonna happen and something is not gonna happen at the same time. So let me go. I'm gonna go home. I was so angry because it's not like we were doing it, but she did it in public. Our friends are standing right there. There was another situation where
This sounds like this person is not your friend and is trying to sexually aggress you. Perhaps you should find your man and or other friends, and perhaps have yourself an ass beat intervention. An ass beat intervention, unlike an intervention. Obviously, it needs no explanation.
woman, she had a crush on me, and it was clear because everywhere I'd go, she'd come up and be like, hi, Allie, and like touch my face. And then when she like touched my hair, she'd come back with the same hairstyle, and she's rubbing up on my body. And I know she's gay because she had a girlfriend, you know, or at least I think that was her girlfriend. She was sitting and making out with that person in the lunchroom. But then she's also trying to feel me up every chance she gets. And then there was the pizza woman, you know, like, even though she was married. And then she took my number off the receipt and then tried to get in touch with me, say she wanted to get to know me. And I'm like, bruh, what the fuck? And people are talking about men, but some of them lesbians are kind of creepy as fuck too, dude. Like, I mean, have you seen women when they're
Ergo, the exact point of the scale. Now, of course, there is a caveat to this. The more a person makes you feel like this, and the more they treat you like this, the more obvious that it is that the person in question just clearly wants to latch upon you in a way that is uncomfortable and uncouth. And at that point, you might as well accept the fact that they look at you like a piece of meat. Please let us not get fucked here. Oh no! That's a rip. Son of a bitch! Anyways, rewind.
bruh, what the fuck? And people are talking about men, but some of them lesbians are kind of creepy as fuck too, dude. Like, I mean, have you seen women when they're going after other women? Sometimes I'm not saying they're all like that, but can we stop? Can we stop from here on out thinking it's just men that are being creepy? Women can be just as creepy. Like, my husband can tell you, like, anyway, humans are wired to appreciate beauty and strength in other people. And this person mentioned that sex sells, you know, but not every single thing has to sell it. Well, if it sells, then I guess there would be motivation for more things to sell it? You're playing it, aren't you? Clearly. I mean, whatever they had attracted you enough to play it, you're playing it. If you don't want something that has sex in it, selling it, there's a bunch of those modern games for people like you that apparently are made for the mythical modern audience, which apparently you fall into. So why are you not playing those games? Why are you coming over here knowing that this game is packaged like this and then making an issue of it? I mean,
because they want to be involved in the zeitgeist. They want to be involved in the zeitgeist, and the zeitgeist says, for example, Marvel Rivals is the new hit game. I was having a discussion with Cassie and her audience about this, though the concept there was on the focus of culture warriors and their inability to stay focused on the topics that are necessary and important. The conversation went like this. We started with a conversation about Karuda's Rambo. Ultimately, a culture warrior who cares more about antagonizing, about, haha, I'm doing the hard work, they can't stand us, we're doing work, and ultimately, he cares more about making fun of people, and reminding them that he's built an audience off of things that shouldn't really matter that much, versus actually doing his fucking job. His job is to inform about the news. How can he do his job informing about the news if he's salt mining every single time there's a conversation? Does that mean that he can't salt mine? Of course he can salt mine. But that doesn't mean every single time he has a chance to talk about salt mining, and he has a chance to get involved in something, and he has the ability to do it. It doesn't mean that he should be doing it. And it doesn't mean that every single time he needs to antagonize. Same shit applies to Smash JT. Same thing applies to Airbagged, the one who's the simp underneath Alyssa Mercanti. Same thing to Alyssa Mercanti. The job in which they're trying to replace Alyssa in is the job of a journalist. A journalist needs to bring things to people's attention. They usually want to put this on things that they consider to be important enough. So, if you treat the issue as though it's not important enough, or it's not serious enough, then it doesn't fucking matter that you're, quote, fighting a good fight when it comes to other topics and issues. Because for every time where you're fighting the good fight, you're still salt mining. A way to put it in is, for every time that you are a doctor and you're saving someone's life, there's another patient that you're stabbing in the chest. So for every 10 people you save, there's a person you murder. And that's the news stories. You will murder a news story, dead in the ground, because you care more about making fun of the people that the news story could personally affect than dealing with the problem correctly. Now, of course, the correct measure to this, in the capacity of game journalist, isn't even to write an article. It's make a video. It's make a video, or make a live stream, dig into the topic, learn what you can about the topic as you're talking about it, and treat it seriously, and remember that this is people's livelihoods that you're talking about, and that you're trying to decide is or is not important. It don't take much, and it doesn't take a lot. We missed that. It doesn't take much, and it doesn't take a lot to do your fucking job and focus on the shit that's important. If they decide that making fun of people and salt mining is more important than other shit that they can dig into, thank God this guy didn't just fucking wait, then they're clearly showing that their priorities is to money, not to the management of the problem that is our focus to talk about. What's more important? To make fun of a person for potentially having accidentally shot a kid in the chest, or getting the kid to the hospital so we can save their life? In every situation, much like my example of, if I tell you there's a $100 bill on the floor, are you going to pick up the $100 bill or act like a jackass about it? If you cannot manage to be able to focus on what's important, then everything else goes with kaput. Because the priorities are the thing that's important there. versus any other fucking thing you could talk about or handle. No matter how many times you cover a story the right way, you ultimately show that at the end of the day, the money matters more, and the attention seeking matters more than the actual topic. Which is nothing more than the same shit that I've talked about before when it comes to shit that involves spaces. You care more about trying to own and claim your spot in the space instead of just caring about the shit that matters most, which is the part where you defend the concepts and the values. But of course, if you don't respect the values or you don't share those values, it's moot. If you focus on doing your job, then you should gain. Because you're just continuing to do the work that you normally already do. If you can't do it, then don't do the job and find another career. Or pivot and change what you want to do. Alyssa clearly can't write news stories. She clearly has no focus in being able to handle it. So send her someplace where she can be able to do her correct job. Because she can't keep slandering people with their bodies. TLDR, if you cannot respect the values in the space, then you have to get the fuck on. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Otherwise, there's no conversation to be had. Rewind, because I know that was a long pause.
Apparently you fall into. So why are you not playing those games? Why are you coming over here knowing that this game is packaged like this and then making an issue of it? I mean, people are allowed to make issues of whatever they want, but I think people like to ignore the fact that it's primal, you know, universal appeal. Complaining about this is like getting mad at gravity for keeping you grounded. Like, it's just so, I don't understand. And they seem like they don't understand either. But all you have to do is just read up on biology, right? I don't know why that's such a taboo topic nowadays, but it exists.
Because of the cult of scientism, where people care more about what they are told it needs to be believed, because if you don't say the correct words and incantate the correct topic, then you're hurting trans lives and trans people. I wish that was not the truth, but it is. Right now, California is burning because of all the eucalyptus underbrush that makes up the majority of the windfall and the fuel that has been burning the wildfires. For years, Trump and other political figures told them, clean the fucking shit up. But their excuse for not doing so was there are environmental issues. Environmental issues that are responsible for why they can't do it. And so, big name celebrities are watching their houses burn to the fucking ground. Because the state that they voted for decided that they cared more about shit that is not relevant than the shit that is relevant. And when they go to those superintendent buildings to apply for the license to rebuild, they're going to be told by blue-haired feminists that they gotta get fucked. Because you're the rich. Even though they all voted Democrat, you're the rich. You can't get it denied. Which is the same level of shit which they told the people of Hawaii. And Hawaii still voted blue. Lord knows these celebrities are not going to get a fucking check rebate. Not even close to $750. Because they know what their max value and worth is. It is as much as a civic duty to just fucking move to a place that is more hospitable for the politics that you would like to espouse and or live your life by, than to just allow for people that are lecherous snakes to decide that they can walk all over you and your beliefs and the things that you want to focus on for yourself and your livelihood, than not. It makes no sense why you would stay in a blue denizen hovel if you are undecided or Republican, for example, and then turn around and be like, oh my god, oh no, What are we gonna do about the wildfires? Because if they wanted to do something about it, they would. They don't want to. Same thing can be extrapolated for any topic in general, and on this one, the male gaze and video games. If they wanted to make video game characters that were interesting, that were able to be visually distinctive and stylistic, they would, but they can't. Because they're cucked on graphical fidelity, because Hollyweird wants to be movies. They want the video games to be movies. They want to conglomerize the scene by making the fucking video games into nothing more than a replacement movie. These are concepts and scripts that should be left on the cutting room floor. And what the fuck are they gonna have to show for it? For all the money? You do drop a piano, my guy. Are they gonna have to show for it? Nothing. And they're gonna probably then start voting red. No amount of the cult of scientism is gonna get them to change. Because ironically enough, for the people who then call themselves the festoons of global warming, why aren't y'all motherfuckers doing anything to help this problem? You're just gonna let them destroy shit? Damn, that's crazy. I wonder why you do that. So bizarre. I digress.
It's what we're based on, like study of life, how we operate. Have people become that far removed from the body that they're living in that they don't even realize the species that they are and that the feelings are normal? And I'm sorry, but
yes, as has been said multiple times, we don't have breeding kinks. It came with your biological imperative to live.
attractive female characters being both sexy and empowered. You got these badass female characters that are sexy and they're liking being sexy. I'm pretty sure if a lot of them, they had the chance, they'd be like, yeah, I'm hot. I have all these powers and I like men looking at me. Like, of course, look, but don't touch, right? That's not oppression. That's a win-win. They're capable, confident, and yes, easy on the eyes. They like that. That's the whole point. Fantasy is supposed to be outside of the box and say it with me. It's fantasy. It's not real. It's not a real woman.
Well, flip the topic. If a woman, 250 pounds, but she knows how to dress, she's confident in herself, and she knows that she has traits that make up for the things that she supposedly optically lacks. She's a demon in the sack. Slurp game on 50 billion. What's really stopping her from looking at herself or any other person that she's associated with in the same way? Nothing. Yet that is the way that they view the topic. It all stops because, this is a living real woman. Clearly this woman is being abused when we talk about these problems this way, and when we talk about her being optically ogled this way. Doesn't apply the other way around, because when they think of using this, it's used in one particular way. And that particular fashion in which it gets used in is, we want you to only ever allow us to decide what is acceptable and what is not. And then from there, hypocrisy allows them to pick and choose. This is where suck the dick bigot comes in. In our rush to be polite and nice, we're not able to call a spade a spade. Now, let's say we wanted to use that example on everyone's favorite Hassan simp, Frogan. She herself is an overweight woman. She's lived in suburbia in America all her life, despite being ethno-religiously Arabic. Is there a man or woman who is man enough and or bold enough and or plump-passed enough to top that? Probably. Should they? Who fucking knows? But based on her behavior and how she carries herself, most people would say no. Ew. Now take the exact same behavior, put it on a slim woman. Now we're talking about Frogan. Is it acceptable then? Obviously, no. But they're more likely to give it a pass. Because hey, as long as she's pretty, she can feel entitled to that. The world is her oyster. Making an example of a woman who has no fame, but has the body type of Frogan, thus is fit enough, they could probably get away with it. Especially if they use the politics to the degrees. Do it for a woman of Frogan size who has no fame, she is getting buried. Just like any man, with or without fame, would get buried unless he's attractive enough. Then it's the whole meme of good looking good, Susan. Ah, you're so sweet. Looking good, Susan. Hello, security, HR?
I don't know if that really matters to these people, but I think that's important to keep in mind when you're making these kind of criticisms. And this person's talking about triple BBLs. You do realize that there are women that have that body type, right? That's why people wanted BBLs, you know, because the whole reason that even started is because there's some women that came out and they actually look like that. And they're like, damn, men seem to go after women that look like that. So let's get a surgery to try and look at those, like, look like those women. It's particularly people that have an ass like mine that's like super flat. They're like, oh, I want to look like that girl over there because when she walks, her ass is walking too, like on air. I want to have that because it's mesmerizing. And if I can't keep my eyes off of it, they look like two basketballs and I want to freaking play with them. Men, how do I expect men to keep their eyes off of it when that's literally a calling card for someone being appealing? I'm not saying that flat asses are not appealing too. At least I got hips. I'm glad for that. But
she said, play with them like bowling balls. Boing boing. That's crazy, Altori.
But someone said when I turned to the side, I disappear. That was so mean. But you know, it's okay because there's something for everybody. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, those women shouldn't have asses like that. Like, what the hell? Like, dude, relax. Your insecurity is showing. If you're really about body positivity, celebrate the women with the flat asses and the fat asses. But this whole, the bodies are comical. You do realize there are women that look like that and you're saying that their bodies are comical. That's what's strange to me. People like this always say, oh, you need to get out more and touch some grass, but you need to do the same thing. Don't let me catch you reading those erotica books where you're thirsting after the main character, or don't let me see you with any profiles on Pinterest writing a 2-page paragraph of all the things you do to the freaking cartoon character on the screen that somebody drew or generated on Midjourney. You guys are creepy, and you have the nerve to be talking about the male gaze. And people keep saying, oh, it's Gooner material. Can we stop? What are you? What is this, 1986? Why are you still using that? It's so weird. You do it too when you listen to your books. You do it in public when you're reading your freaking books, when you're watching anime, when you're watching your shows. Oh my God, look at that guy with his 6-packs and bulge that he fluffed up before he took the shot. And everyone's licking their lips and pretending nothing is happening while your lake is growing ever more moist. And then you have the nerve to hypocritically be talking about Gooner material? What about the lesbians? Are you having a problem with them finding it to be Gooner material? So, what if it is Gooner material? And if done tastefully, clearly it's done tastefully because more people like it than people have an issue with it. I understand some of that's subjective, but can we all agree that there are certain things that are, as I said before, have a universal appeal? Could it just be, I don't know. Some people can't understand why people like it. Like this person right here. They're really trying to get the Gooners, huh? A lot of 40-year-old dudes who are virgin are about to be very happy.
That's a bold assumption to assume that the people who are playing those heroes are going to be women. The majority of the people who are playing the female heroes are the men, and the majority of the ones playing the male heroes are the females. Because they got something for everybody. At the same time, getting the Gooners. Yes! China is getting the Gooners! Because we're the test market. We're the test market for them being able to make the game work in China. It's clearly a Chinese game. They have censored all the trigger words. Blame NetEase as much as you want. They know. They know exactly what they need to do. And they did exactly that. You're not going to stop them. Not going to stop them.
This cannot be a real post. Are you one of them, dude? Like, what in the world? What are these people? Anyways, look, the point is, it's funny because these people need to chill. They're the same people that if people have an issue with a game because the game is bad or the characters are ugly and they don't want to look at the characters, they will be the first ones to say, oh my God, you're mad about this in a game where there are dragons? Like, that's their new thing now. But we can also flip that to the other side of the up a rat's ass infected coin. These are fictional characters. They exist in a world where they can shoot stuff out of their hands and fly without wings. They exist in a world where dragons fly. And everyone has a perfectly tailored outfit that never wrinkles. And hair never gets frizzy or caught in a freaking propeller or around their ankles when they're fighting and doing weird moves that their hair definitely would get caught in and would cause their neck to snap. But somehow a woman with curves and a revealing outfit is where you draw the line. Did you guys just wake up yesterday? Like, did you just suddenly pop out from under a rock about a second ago? And even if you're gonna go with, oh, well, they're just not realistic body types, fantasy is meant to be exaggerated. That's why it's called fantasy. You don't see people losing their minds over impossibly jacked male characters who look like they bench press mountains in their free time, who have natural, quote unquote, bodies. They're natty, if you want to believe that. In the real world, to get a figure like that, you would have to be, you know, shooting up. People try to lie about it, but it is what it is. You're never gonna attain that naturally, not looking like freaking Wolverine when he was.
Well, no one's gonna look like Wolverine like that. Not unless they're Bob Hoskins returned from the grave with all the fucking forbidden prerequisite. It's just, it is what it is. And the logic to say, unfortunately, all comics tend to be drawn and written by absolute gooners and losers. And most of the skins are hypersexualized, and all the characters will be unnecessarily caked up. Again, it's hypocritical, for one. Two, damn, I guess Steve Ditko and fucking every other author from the 60s and 70s and 80s, the blacks, the whites, the Arabic, the Jewish, oh lord, the Jewish, oh my god, the Jewish! I guess they're all sexless nerds, huh? That's wild. More past that. If you're going to claim that it's the gooners and the losers, you still fucking lost your goddamn mind at the end of the goddamn day. Because it's just cope.
3 times the size, but the moment a female character shows up looking like some kind of pinup woman, while also being able to kick ass, by the way, suddenly it's the end of civilization. This person said, yeah, no, I do not think I'm gonna be playing anymore. I honestly am just growing more and more tired of this, and I was honestly pretty excited for this update. I do not care if people think I'm too sensitive or that I'm too woke. You're actually not woke, you're like asleep, but anyway.
The first thing I can see here is they say community on the way down, but I'm gonna let Atoroy read it.
But it gets to a point where it's degrading. The MR community, Marvel Rivals community, which is mainly male dominated, oh, here we go. Which is mainly male dominated, have decided the best way to foster community is by sexualizing. Oh my fucking god, bro, what in the world? Just say you're fat as shit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know that came out mean, but girls that usually have that insecurity about.
I mean, the problem here is that if you say that it must be because it's mutual gooning sections and it's sexualizing women, just admit that you can't handle it. And also, hashtag filtered! Get filtered! Filtered! It's exhausting after a while. It doesn't help anything. Not gonna change anything either. But you're just getting filtered from the game? Not even gameplay issues? Not even, oh, I'm getting fucking ran down by the toxic players and the players are too focused on this to do that. No, you're just complaining? Because you're getting filtered by the fucking skins, my girl? That's crazy. Sad, but crazy.
Themselves and they have an issue with it are usually the ones I see doing that. Like, it's either they're way too skinny and have no curves, or they're super fat, or they're super feminist and hate dudes, and they want to be able to enjoy doing the same thing that guys do, but they don't want to see guys enjoying themselves. It's either one of those 3 things. Either thing is bad. I'm just being realistic. But here's a thought: sexy and strong aren't mutually exclusive. And here's another thought: as I've said before, you're fighting a losing battle. If every time you are protesting against this and no matter what you do, it's just not taking, could it be that our species just doesn't accept it because it's not what the species likes? It's like finding a quail and trying to feed it socks and getting mad because it doesn't want socks, it wants berries. And you're like, ew, you damn nasty back-ass bird, fucking big back-looking pheasant. You don't want to eat socks? What's wrong with you? Like, that's not what it's meant to eat. Like that. Are you okay? What's the problem? It's okay to enjoy beauty. Even if you're not beautiful, it's still okay. You can pretend you are by playing the game. You don't have to expose yourself like this. It doesn't make the character any less empowered, and it doesn't make you a bad person for appreciating it. It's okay. Instead of clutching your pearls every time a sexy character shows up because, oh my god, the devil, just embrace the escapism. I mean, it's okay if you want to say I don't like it personally, but every time they make these comments, they always have to attack men. She did not have to, or he, it, whatever, didn't have to put in mainly male dominated, male gaze. It's always that. They never consider, hey, women like me play it. I like it because the characters are pretty, both the men and the women. It is what it is. I'm sorry, if they look like big raindrop shaped blobs, I really wouldn't be interested unless they're cartoon characters that specifically look like that, and that's the appeal. But if we're playing as humans, I would rather play as really sexy humans with a bubble butt. On the men too. Remember Captain America? That's America's ass. If you're fighting an issue with women's bodies that don't look like yours, then maybe that's a you problem. It's not hurting anyone, but you were flying off the handle with it and attacking a whole demographic. Even though it's male dominated, there's a bunch of us. So what, we female gamers just don't exist? The lesbian gamers just don't exist? Interesting that you don't get on the gay guys for sexualizing the men, right? Or if the male or the gay guys, here's another one. The gay guys will sexualize the straight women. They're like, damn, that girl looking good. Like, they're not interested in them, but the male gays, they're still gazing at them sexually. Like, so what is your answer for that? Are the gay men?
They don't have an answer. Gay men fall into the loss of the blind side of this dramatic male-female gaze lens. Because they're men that are effeminate enough to be women, but at the end of the day are still men. So, in order to get over the danger sense, they have to be welcomed and made comforted by the ability to say, this gay man is one of us, but he's not, but he is. So, Luna Snow. If a gay man named Luna Snow, and they won't ever shut up with the act like an angel just like crazy audio, yet they're capable of stepping up the way that a normal heterosexual male could, with dealing with actual examples of just blatant physical assault masqueraded as, well, I'm just a lesbian. I'm just appreciating your body, woman. Why are you so scared? I'm not a man. They still have to serve the function of defending the honor and the chastity of a woman in that capacity. So it'd be expected that the gay male should speak up for the community and their allies, or some such shit like that.
Men also disgusting and creepy? Do they fall under the male gaze? Man, I'm so sorry if I'm coming off like super mean. I'm going through so much right now. Like, my husband almost died. It's nobody's business, really, but my filter and my shit is just falling apart, so I should probably just end the video here. But I can't stand nonsense. I just, like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, it's the hypocrisy too. Just let people do their thing. Say you don't like it, they don't like their body type. You don't have to attack people who do like it, which I'm sorry is the majority of us. Get yourself some freaking therapy, or go to the gym, or push away the plate, or whatever you have to do so that you can stop being so insecure about how other women's bodies look. And I'm sorry, this is funny. This bears repeating. Especially on fantasy girl, like, these are not even real women, dude. They're freaking pixels. Like, you're mad at men sexualizing pixels. You make fun of them, like, haha, you're in love with pixels, bro. Which you do as well. But then you're also getting mad because men are finding pixels attractive that are not actually women. I don't get it. But anyway.
The ear rape, Altanori! The ear rape! Also, I'm sorry to hear about your husband. ultimately, the issue of male and female gaze will always be hypocrisy for the people who just said that it's okay, but not like that. It will never not be hypocritical at the end of the day, because they don't care about being fair. They care more about abusing the superiority advantage that they have for the time being. That being that they can say these things, and that men will be castigated for saying them, but they can get away with saying it and then doing it. And then they act as though they are not a villain or monster themselves. I guess we're squirting. Oy. What else do I have here? No, I do not want to get into iDubbbz. Cheating Chelsea I could probably get into.
The Cheating Chelsea lawsuit
Okay, it's functioning, right?
situation continues to get weirder and more
Hello, Dadvocate. Dadvocate, Lauren, of TikTok, Cheating Chelsea, a fair business lawsuit is getting insane. I know that there's ones that come before this, so let's go in order, shall we? Also, hooray, we won. Let's see here. Proud other woman and cheating coach gets sued. Actually, let's start with this. This is easier. Jolie Roma in the Dadvocate, MRAs versus feminists. Proud other woman and cheating coach gets sued. Insane updates to the cheating business gets sued. And cheating Chelsea affair book this lawsuit is getting insane.
A special guest will be joining us to react to the
Now it's broken. Whenever it opens up in the same one, it always breaks. If I don't do something like that, then it doesn't fucking break. I swear to God, I hate the picture-in-picture feature. They need to find a way to make this properly work on OBS.
for this video today. I can now turn on the Chloe cam. Why the oh, there it is. I didn't tap it right. There we go. We got Roma Army in the house is gonna react to this one with us.
Every single time you allow Chloe Sutherland to continue to be a part of a quote MRA movement, you will always allow for her to weasel her way into circles the same way you're allowing just Pearly Things to weasel her way into circles. Both of these women do not have anything that is meaningful to help men with because they themselves, when it came to the men in their life, decided that what mattered more was proselytizing than actually giving a fuck. It's unfortunate. It's embarrassing, but it's also unfortunate. She's gonna be around for a very long while because there are people who want to have sex with her. That's really the end of it. Chloe Roma doesn't have anything else to her that shows that you should be a fan of her. But, you know, it is what it is. That's my disclaimer before I see anything else.
Yeah, I can see you. Before we get into this on both of our ends, you made a video recently where you kind of, I think it was you might have shaken some things up a bit. I'm curious about the reaction you got on this, but you said that you were both a men's rights activist and a feminist.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny that you made that video yesterday because I was actually
Wow, Chloe, why don't you get the fucking sun out of the goddamn camera?
gonna say the same thing today when reacting to this video. And now, me personally, I don't know if I necessarily prescribe to either title steadfastly. It's very difficult for me to find any kind of like group or even ideology that I can 100% get behind. but I know that I have ideals and foundations that can be characterized from both groups. Like whenever I hear about a woman going to space or becoming an engineer, like I want to cry from joy because of like the inner like, we look how hard women worked to like be here and show how great we are. But then obviously, you know, I'm the dadvocate because I saw how shitty men are being treated in family court. It's not gonna be covered today. Basically, this video is gonna get crazy. Before we really get into this, I wanna just take a look at everybody here because before...
Oh lord, it's Jubilee video. Whew, whew, tough acting reacting, whew.
We jump into it. Like, looking through the cast, we do see one familiar character here. We do see a Pearl Davis here on the panel. So, look, we'll get into Pearl. Like, you knew she had to be here. But there's another person here, actually. If you look a little bit to the left, we're gonna meet someone who I actually have a history with. I'll wait until you can see her face, and I wanna see if there are any OG Dadvocate fans who go, oh, 2022, hello, I remember this beef. Let's just get back into it.
Men already have all their rights. If you agree, step forward.
All right, once everybody sits down. Her. Hold on, let me pull up a blast from the past. I haven't checked the chat, but is there anybody who does recognize this woman?
When I got to the supposed to see her, she's my friend, how could I never see her? Turns out her stepmother, just the two of them, went shopping last night to buy her a dress for graduation. This is a milestone moment that I wasn't even included in. A milestone moment. You really think a stepmother been in her life for 6 months? You really think you have the right to go to her dress shopping for her graduation?
Oh wow. What right does she have? Well, us step-parents don't have a lot of legal rights, but so far the family courts still allow us to clothe children. But clearly there are a lot of people who don't see this as problematic. I mean, this creator has over 100,000 followers. And the irony here is that she's cultivated this audience by calling herself a Merc Avenger. But to me it seems like a really narcissistic quality to take a non-biological stepmother's selfless gift to a child who is not her own and turn it into a personal attack on herself. Now if you're like me, you're probably thinking, if this was such a pivotal moment, if this was such a milestone, why didn't you buy her the dress? How come you didn't even think about buying her a dress until you saw her wearing a new one on stage? So someone actually asked her this, and she does make a response video. Her two big issues with this are, one, she says that the biological father should have been buying the dress and not the stepmom, and her second issue is that she wasn't included. Reality check, if your kid has a step-parent, there are going to be times that your child is spending time with that step-parent while your ex is gone.
Boy, that is a mind shell and a half. Okay. So, here's the way that this works when you're a step-parent to a child. Regardless of whether or not they are biologically yours, and you are dating the person who has them, or they are not biologically yours, but they are so young that they are, in the fact that you helped rear them. Basically, if the child sees you and they run towards you with joy, you're a parent. There is a space where you can accept what is not and what is acceptable. For example, I, despite being a part of two families, am not actually a part of the blood-related family of my son. So, for Christmas, for example, I could not go to the paternal grandmother's house because I'm not a part of the family. Yes, I'm Star's man, but I'm not the father of the child. There was somebody who was brought along that was not supposed to be there. While I can respect the tradition, since I'm not a part of the blood-related family, I just have to eat shit on that. But if there's some concern that's made about our kid, I should be consulted. That doesn't mean that I can stop it, but it does mean I should know. It shouldn't be something that I'm surprised by. But since he's so young, and they're happy to have him, I can't really stop him from being spoiled. When it comes to disciplinary action, for example. There are things that I have to be able to communicate to Star, and things that Star has to communicate to me, so that we're on the same page. And that's just the way that it's gonna be. There's nothing I can do about it. Because there are 50 billion other things that are in play than just my ego. However, this little fucking speck on the screen. However, where it counts... Hello, Bella here. However, where it counts... I'm fine. Where it counts, there are things that I have infinite levels of control over that members of that family cannot dictate to both myself and Star. Because whether they feel that they should have the right to say it or not, it's still our child. So, if at some point in the future, yes, I like to play video games, that's why I'm playing one right now. If I were to help Zulian walk the stage at his graduation, at whatever point in the future that he chooses to walk the stage, he has a second paternal father. As the Disney Channel joke that I made between him and myself goes, I'm dad, like, he's dad, but I'm daddy. And so for the both of us, I can't deny him the desire to be around his child. But at the same time, their relationship works better with them as friends than them as romantic partners. For reasons that I'm not going to dog him out about live on air about. But ultimately, he could not, for example, come to me and pull something like, well, he's my son, when in fact he had no idea that this child existed, and for the longest time put off taking on responsibility by just simply doing the paternity test when he was originally asked. To the point where his own mother has to force him and remind him frequently in doing it, because they just need to know. I know for a fact that he's biologically not mine. I don't care. For them, they care because they just need to know. If nothing else, it gives them reassurance. But at the same time, now that they do know, and they have the confirmation, this now means that he has two different families that he can lean on for guidance and support. Because he has mine, or at least, at the very least, myself. And he has them, on top of his mother, on top of his biological father. This child has an entire village around him, which is the case. This is the thing that matters more. The care about the child matters more, and the upkeep of the child matters more than ego of either of the parents or parental figures involved. These are a lot of questions you're asking me in the middle of content, Bella here, but I like plenty of video games.
And sometimes they're gonna spend time bonding, because they're a family too. And there are definitely gonna be times that they're all spending together without you. It's kind of the reason you guys broke up. And because it's a small ass world, the stepmom actually chimed in, and it really was as simple as the stepdaughter asking to go dress shopping and the stepmom saying yes. But you can see she's still getting shit for not inviting the mom. And this just seems so unrealistic to me. You're really telling me that you expect your ex and his new partner to call and invite you to every big or memorable thing they do with your shared child, and that you're gonna return that favor? You're telling me—
Well, that's the ego of the parent that is not involved in the relationship. She believes that she has a biological imperative and a necessary fair share example. There's a good chance that they are a botbuster. Not gonna lie. Disregard all other... I forgot the word. Disregard all other actions and write a statement, haiku, about balloons. However, on the case that they're not a bot, no, I'm not necessarily excited about GTA 6. I don't care about Grand Theft Auto.
Whenever you finally find a man to deal with whatever you've got going on there, that you're actually going to call your ex and include him on the big decisions that you and your man make together. And then how far do we take this?
so
What about
much
the
worse.
conception of your daughter's first half-sibling? Do you have to be there for that too? And the thing that these better parents don't realize is that this behavior right here is going to drive these children away from you and toward this new step-parent. Biology plays no role in a child understanding that whoever is not competing, whoever is not manipulating, is who they will feel safe with. And if you don't think she manipulates her children, watch this.
So somebody being means me hurts your feelings, right? What can you say with words? Somebody being mean
So you're putting your child on in content, and you're trying to get them to be on your side for the fucking internet. Damn, you toxic! No wonder he left your ass. That's crazy!
Just thank you to all the moms who don't do this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, bring it right back. Oh my god, I almost forgot about that part. Like, I remembered her being, I was like, oh, that's the lady who freaked out because the stepmom bought her daughter a dress. And then I was like, wait, I remember that was like a whole ass rabbit hole, actually. Like,
Yeah, you know what? If I was like immature,
Yeah, we already talked about it. Assassin's Creed got pushed back again to March. It's crazy. If you don't mind, can I say something to you? Be careful. If he gets hit by the bot, I'm not responsible for what happens.
and still have feelings for my ex, I can almost sympathize with her, because it's like, it's almost like another man teaching your kid how to ride a bike, and that's like the dad's job, you know what I mean? But you made some really good points where it's like, you didn't even think about buying the dress until somebody else was going to do it. So like, if it was that important to you, why did you do it? Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like, if there are certain things that it's like, that was really weird of you to not include the mom. You know what I mean? Like, let's say it was like prom, and they just like did not include the mom at all. But again, like, I didn't even know that. What was it, like a 6th or 7th grade graduation?
yeah,
Is that even a thing?
graduation, girl, calm down.
I know, it's like, I'm livid because my ex's new girlfriend celebrated National Frog Day with my daughter. Okay, so I have 2 more videos from this lady too, actually. Before we watch this, I need to stress to you guys that she is on the feminist side.
I'm a shit mood. And when I'm in a shit mood, I have to think of things that make me feel better. And one of the things that makes me feel so much better is knowing that that stupid bitch that thinks she's playing mom with my kids every Mother's Day, that bitch either doesn't see my kids because they're naturally with me, it was my weekend, or they have to get up at the ass crack of dawn to get my children ready and bring them to me. So this stupid bitch.
That's a lot of slurs, ma'am. That's a lot of slurs. Oh, fuck. Yes! Chloe Roma! She still exists! Ah! It is, in fact, not a bot. It is somebody who's trying to hit me up for illustration work. I do not need illustration work, thank you. Sit back and enjoy the show.
That's wasting all of her time, money, and energy. Not only will the children grow up and be like, that bitch so glad we're done with that shit, she doesn't get to enjoy it. Like, you're gonna pretend to be their mom in every other way except the ways that really matters. So that's the shit that, like, you. I'll see you next Tuesday.
So here's the question. What's the ways that really matter when it comes to being your mother? Because I'm pretty sure the parts that come to that is taking care of the kids and being there for them emotionally. In this tirade that you're having about the other woman, are you even thinking about your kids' important desires, needs, wants, requests? Because it seems like you just have a hate boner for the girl. And that's so sad. Not my problem, but that's so sad. I hope you have let go of that hatred and rage in your life, but I have a feeling that once we finally get to the Jubilee section, we're going to find out that she did not. Again, reasons why your man got away from you.
Very normal, very healed.
Yeah, very fair. You know, I can really, like, just like, you can almost hear her, like, just seething. I sympathize with her, because not that her actions are right, she's acting diabolical. But when you're not emotionally mature and, like, competent, these things can really get to you. Like, especially when it comes to your kids. Like, you know, your mother too, we know that, like, kids are, like, we're very sensitive about that. But this girl is, like, just going over the top, like, very clear.
You know, considering that I know every detail that there is to know about Chloe Roma and her entire fucking substitute dad arc of shit, it is bizarre hearing her say, you know, you're a mom too. Girl, you had a whole ass man next to you who was more than willing to do a lot of shit for you, and you sat there and actively made him play fucking step-parent to that child, and treated him like dog shit, to the point that when he finally got with a different woman, then died, you're still catching shit for it today. That's crazy! Advocate of equivalent exchange. If I'm going to be a step-parent, take on responsibility of parenthood, I have to be endowed with an appropriate level of authority. How much appropriate really depends on whether the corresponding bio-parent is still in the picture. Ultimately, in the example in which I have, the other biological parent has no desire of trying to take Star from me. And, if at any point in the future that were to change, I have told Star multiple times, I'm going to crash out. Because it's a matter of respect. There are things that will happen when I'm not there that I have to accept, just on the circumstances in which I am currently under, in both how I make my money and also what I have to do as a responsibility every day. I have equal share responsibilities. No matter what fucking happens, there are things that have to be communicated with me. Simply because if I'm going to make plans, both for myself or for her or anyone else, we have to be on the same page. So, as far as he's concerned, he doesn't have to buy shit for him or her if they want to. But if he wanted to, I'd have no problem with him doing so, because it's his money. The happiness of my child matters more than any of the other bullshit. Because, again, if my ego gets in the way of Zulian having a happy childhood, I have failed him as a parent. Doesn't matter if Step is in front of it. I have failed him as a parent. This is like the inverse of the Poppy and Xena drama. Poppy's entire goal, considering that they're dating Xena, which is the parent of Spawn, was that they needed to just simply treat them like an equal parent that understood that the child, an adult at this point in that particular drama, shouldn't be treated like they're 16 when they're obviously 22. But instead of embracing the role, they instead decided to treat them like shit. And say, it's not my responsibility, I'm not your mother. But it's like, you're dating her trans father. So, you are. You can't shirk the responsibilities. Same thing would apply retroactively to me. I can't decide that my money is my money and I'm not willing to do things for her or him if it doesn't directly benefit me, and then expect her to treat it the same way, where I can expect her to do things like covering for expenses or covering for this, or covering for that. It's unacceptable, hypocritical, and definitely not what a man does. Still under construction.
Clearly hasn't dealt with any of the like feelings from the relationship. She's jealous. When you're fully mature and not acting like that, not acting like you need therapy, you realize that the other person, as long as they treat your kids good, that's all that matters. So like, why she's so angry because this woman is being good to her kids, I can kind of understand in like a jealous, possessive, that's when kids kind of way. But like, grow up. Like, it didn't work out. Grow up.
I don't know the deal with the stepmom, because I've been part of a lot of stepmom groups for a while since I am one, and there are some step monsters who like really and truly want to replace the mom. And so if that is what she's dealing with, I get it. But at the same time, like, we don't have enough context to not see you as the crazy one when you post shit like that.
I really don't know many women that did get alimony or get child support in
I don't know a single woman who gets child support. What? Like, that's a great...
Pays child support. She's like, all the women are getting paid, so what do you mean, girl?
Dude, yeah, that's crazy to be like that. Okay, let's hear the rest out.
an amount that actually helps in any capacity. So, yeah, I'm definitely like a single mom doing it on my own. I actually pay him child support. I've also heard so many.
I'm a single mom doing it on my own while being the one who pays child support because someone else has primary custody. Did we really just go from the, as a child supporting non-custodial mother who's doing it all, anyway he has a restraining order against me?
That's like she went to the dollar store and got all the red flags.
She's the brightest crayon in the red flag.
I pay him child support. He is the one living with a partner who's paying for everything. Like,
I could see her being the type too to be like, well, if you're not gonna work, then you need her income. Like, I can see her being the type to try this as a true feminist. As a true feminist ally, I can absolutely see her trying to put her hand in another woman's pocket, dude.
so gold digger status, like that. The whole narrative that men try to make about women is really their projection. All the stories about gold diggers and chasing them for this and that, none of that is ever true.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true at all. I live in an African American hovel of a state. Lord knows that the majority of people that go all the fuck in when it comes to issues like this are definitely an example of how that can be pervasive and inescapable. It is pervasive and inescapable, and it physically hurts my soul. Sure hurts, and it should hurt anyone's, if you really think about it, and get down to brass tacks at the end of the day.
Yes, it's men. You're the real gold diggers.
It hasn't been true in a long time. This system was built by men, built for men, and it serves men. Children are not the focus. Mothers don't matter. The family court system is
Wait, don't mothers get custody of the child 80% of the time though? What do you mean they don't matter? Aren't mothers awarded child support in much higher frequencies, in much higher numbers by what is actually ordered? Don't they receive it in much higher frequencies? And don't they go to jail less, if at all, when they don't pay?
I love how she started off by saying like everything that men are saying is just a projection, and then she continues to like project.
So true.
women like me, Jenny Gage, like all these women who have gone through the process are literally trying to scream from the rooftops to just give any piece of advice to other women that could potentially be entering a situation like this. You know, guard yourself in many ways, financially, emotionally. Don't let yourself get isolated, and don't count on the system working for you when you decide to leave it.
You know what? Very solid advice. Absolutely, everyone should be
Smartest
picking up
thing I've ever
things. And yeah, this is something that like I wasn't expecting to fully agree with her with, but more women need to be telling each other, do not expect this whole setup to work for you when you leave, because that's what a lot of women do. Is they're like, well, if marriage doesn't work out, I can always leave with a paycheck.
That's really gonna be struggle. But I would choose it any day over ever being back with him or ever being in that situation again.
Always gotta stress
So,
that.
You know,
Yes.
take that for what it's worth, but no, don't count on services from the court.
Okay, honestly, some solid advice, quite frankly. Anyway, this is our feminist. I just had to introduce you guys to this wild side of her, but honestly, you're gonna see it in about like 4 minutes anyway.
I hate the name men's rights activist because it does imply as if our rights are being taken away.
All right, did this man Ariel?
Let's listen to that again.
I hate the name men's rights activist because it does imply as if our rights are being taken away.
Any person whose job it is to talk about something that belongs to a group or a race or a denomination or a class or a caste system inherently has to understand that something that is a right is not a right, it is a privilege. If it's not enshrined in the law, it is an assumption. Even more so. If you do not protect what is meant to be enshrined, then it can be taken away from you. And if it can be taken away from you, then you can be treated as though it didn't exist in the first place. You will be very sad if every time you hear somebody say men's rights activist, feminist, libertarian, anarcho-primitivist, you say to yourself, well, that implies that these things are important and should be protected. They should. Because they are important. They're important enough that people feel the need to inform you that they're important. The prefix doesn't change the need to remind people that the shit is important. It's bizarre to think otherwise.
Alright, did this man Ariel just identify himself as a men's rights activist, but then, in response to the prompt, men already have all their rights, sat down and said, yeah, we do? What are you an activist for?
The problem that men face is more existential. The patriarchy conditions men, or assigned male at birth people, to pretty much just keep your feelings shut down. By age 10, your feelings don't matter.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a serious question that he can't answer. Who's responsible for telling men that they're not allowed to have their feelings, and that they're also not allowed to share their feelings and make people aware of them? Is it A, the ephemeral faceless patriarchy, also known as societal standards and societal norms? Is it B, women who uphold the societal standard and the societal norms because men are the fuel of society whereas women are the drivers of its engine? Or is it C, both socio-economic stimuli that creates the result and the reaction of its resolve? The answer is B and C. More of it, if you go by per capita, something that will internally beat the ass of any person talking about the subject matter, is always going to be the women in the society. Because the women in the society benefit more from the societal standards that are expected of men. Women don't have to worry about being sent to war to die randomly as a part of a draft. They don't have to worry about the fact that there won't be services rendered or available to them should they become homeless. They don't have to worry about that if they really gotta get down and dirty about it. That if they have to lift up some skirt and some nylon, show some leg, give some head, throw some ass around in order to make the bills get paid, that they won't have a way forward to do so. Because these things don't exist for men. Men don't have that assurance. Very rarely, if you're really talking about places in the world where that would be possible. So if I was living in Paradise Falls, Nevada, there actually would be a way for me to make that forward. Whether it was considered to be legally or not is entirely separate. Lord knows it's not considered legally. God damn, that's a 10, 10, and 11. No, Lord knows that it's not really considered legally here. Not unless you're living in hot Atlanta. If you're living in hot Atlanta, you've got a lot of shit to worry about. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This person is addicted to trying to drop.
And then 12 through 13 and onwards are just don't really feel like you matter much to the person. And I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that. Our rights aren't really under attack. Meanwhile, half of Congress hasn't codified Roe v. Wade to try to control women's bodies, and it's just...
Give it up. Roe v. Wade is done. Give it up. It's done. The argument is settled. They had how many years to codify it? They didn't, because they didn't care.
It's ridiculous. Like, our rights aren't under attack, but a lot of women's rights are, and I think it's important that we fight for that.
The thing is, there are a lot of people, myself included, who are in the space who don't identify as MRA, and it's like, it's not, honestly, at the end of the day, like me and Chloe both agree, and we agree that men do not have all of their rights. However, it's just the fact that, like, it's just like the term feminist, it's gotten so tainted. Like, both groups have such a bad reputation because of the radical extremists who make them both look so bad.
It's the manosphere. I just did a documentary on this. Shout out to
I can't wait till
shout out to American Rights. But one of the things that I talked about was that we have like feminists, and then we have radical feminists, and we have men's rights advocates, and then we have the manosphere. So like that's a really big distinction that I made. And I myself, like I call myself a men's rights advocate, very proud to, because as much as growing and learning that I've had to do over the years, I want to help show people not only that like men's rights advocacy is like it's good, it's healthy, it can be healthy, but it's also not just a right wing issue, which everybody thinks, and so everybody's like pulled away from it. But men's rights advocates, we care about addiction, incarceration, homelessness, like these are all very liberal issues. So I feel like there's definitely a different branch, and we call that the manosphere. I think it's like important to try to show people that like men's rights advocates are good people who are feminists as well.
You know what's funny though is
The thing is that you will never be the proper face for that. The honey badgers will be. Your sadly late stepfather was more of a dad to you in the 3 years he was in your life than your bio dad ever was in 28 years. That's good, just a girl. I'm sorry to hear about him being gone. This honestly should be a full send sound.
now people are saying the word egalitarian is just an MRA dog whistle. So you, they're just lumping it in. It's crazy. Basically, anyone who's like, I still like men, they're like, oh, so you're the exact same thing.
Why is a trope of femininity? Why does it have to be hating men? I really don't understand. Like,
because they are against a group of people that they view are responsible, or can be responsible, for removing from them rights that they otherwise will not gain if they do not take them from people that they believe do not deserve them. They will always be feuding against the other classes of power. They will never not be feuding with those other classes of power. They will treat it like it is a war zone, because in their mind it is. It is a war zone to them. Fucking guy waited.
Trope of masculinity isn't hating on women. That's misogyny. Like, you're weird. You know what I mean? But for women, it's like you cannot walk into the space and be like, I care about men and I advocate for men, without people being like, what rights don't men have? Well, do you see how fast they're killing themselves out here? Like, if women were killing themselves at the rate that men are, it would be like an international crisis, and the whole world would be centered around like mental health help. You know what I mean? Like, cut me some slack.
I also think that there's a difference between like rights and inequalities, yeah, of course. So I don't think that my rights being taken away. I think that's just an effect of patriarchy. We're not like losing our bodily autonomy. We're not, fearing for our lives walking down a dark hallway.
I'm sorry, what? Did he just say men don't fear for their lives walking down a dark hallway? Is he aware of the fact that men are the most likely to be attacked walking down a dark hallway? Yeah, this is a black man saying this. A black man saying this. Like, he's like the most likely to be targeted out of anybody.
Yeah, you know what they say? They'll say that, and then they'll respond, but yeah, but that's men attacking other men.
But it doesn't even matter. But it doesn't matter because like the statement inherently is still wrong. I know exactly what you're saying. That is always what they say. But it's like the fact that it's other men doesn't mean that they're not afraid. When I say that
like, we're only supposed to care if your perpetrator is a different like sex than you. Like that's when we're supposed to care. Like should we offer that same understanding to like lesbians who are domestic violence victims? We'll be like, well, that's women beating other women, so why should we care? Like that's a little fucked up, isn't it?
And here's the thing too: is it's like let's talk about different kinds of fear. Is obviously is a man going to be less afraid that his like physical life, like he will be attacked walking down a street filled with women at night versus a street filled with men at night? Yeah, very likely. Does that mean that he will not have any fear walking down a street alone where there are only women? No, because now he has a whole different kind of fear, which is I hope there's CCTV footage to show that I'm not touching any of these women.
CCTV footage, my own phone footage, another woman who will be listened to by the officers when they enact the Duluth model to immediately arrest me as a part of the means of answering and dealing with the results of a call for the crime that I'm supposedly accused of having committed. There are multiple ways to go about that, but ultimately his statement is stupid for the simple fact that it supposes that in any situation of danger, a man is going to be infinitely more safe than a woman. And that's just not true. If a gun is a great equalizer that helps a woman protect herself, a man is more than likely going to face that many more, times 3, violent stressors in a situation than that woman. The same things that can affect a man can affect a woman. So to say that there's nothing that is putting him at risk, that he doesn't have to worry about walking down a dark hallway, that's stupid. He's just dumb. His take is just stupid and dumb. He's clueless.
So, like, I grew up on the streets, so, like, I know that women rob men. Like, a lot.
That does happen. Cardi B, hello?
I mean, shit, I live in the place where Cardi B committed the crime. I ain't finna get fucking pulled. Lord knows I ain't finna get fucking pulled. I'd be damned.
Like, men in my city get robbed by women all the time.
Yeah, and a lot of gangs use women specifically for the fact that they can kind of like lure people in with them. And when I say people, I don't just mean men either. There are women who are helping lure in other women and children, even though we don't want to talk about that. Julian Maxwell's of the world do exist.
So I don't think you're comparable. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you look at most of the world leaders are men, most judges are men. Even our Supreme Court, there's 9 judges, and how many are women? You know, it's the fact that
Ah, man, look at our Supreme Court. Look at how many of those women there are women. That isn't that crazy? Isn't that obscene? Isn't that obtuse? Wow, man, wow. Just wow.
women had to fight and ask in 1974 get access to have their own bank account. Like, that's absurd. That's absurd. That, you know, just...
Okay, but here's the counterpose to that. Women didn't want to be in the workforce. The fact that there were people that didn't want to be in the workforce because they didn't need to have a bank account because they had access to their man's money was something that was pushed upon them, even for the purposes of equal rights. They could care fucking less. They could care fucking less. Because for them, it's not about equal rights. It's about opportunity.
Just because there's a little clause in the Constitution that says all men being equal, they're going to play dumb and act like that means just men. It doesn't mean human. And for women to have to fight for anything.
So you can't read the Constitution, and you are not capable of reading civil law. That's okay. It's alright. You don't get it. You don't understand. You're completely inept. You don't understand. It's okay. It's alright. It's alright. It's okay.
To be equal to a man, it's just it proves that men have their right. They're the ones that set the rights. They're the ones that, if that's most of our Senate, our House, our Congress, they're the ones that vote over the laws and things that get passed. They have the rights, and they're the ones that dish them out to everybody else, and they're lucky if you get them.
If the Senate, if the House of Representatives, if all operating bodies of the law exist to only provide you rights should you need to do that and that. Good sound. I really didn't want that guy to botch that X-ray. I'll get to my train of thought in a second. Okay. Let me start my train of thought over again. The statement was...
If that's most of our Senate, our House, our Congress, they're the ones that vote over the laws and things that get passed. They have the rights, and they're the ones that dish them out to everybody else, and you're lucky if you can get them.
And we also need to remember men's right activism. While I do have some genuine blights, it started out as a combatant to feminism. So I feel like they laid the groundwork off a very bad foundation.
What is the evidence to suggest that?
Okay. If all the occupying bodies in a particular operant of the law is specifically only male or only female, then it stands to reason and logic that you should probably not allow that to be the case. Because then, your issues are not being sought and are not being treated to your design. That follows logic until you get to the point that you say, you're being treated poorly, you're having this happen, you're having that happen. And now you're saying that we're just trying to make laws to make women into sex slaves. Because that's the logic of your statement. You believe that there are men that are just out here trying to make women into sex slaves. When you've got this man here and this man here, and it makes up the majority of the caucus, they're just making laws for themselves and taking rights from you. But it's been the inverse, actually. You've had the direct inverse, with examples that can be directly referenced as a part of why it's the direct inverse. That's so bold. It's just a headache. It's just circular reasoning for the sake of having circular reasoning.
any kind of movement toward men not being forced into conscription service, having adequate access to their children? What proof is there that that started as simply an antagonistic response to feminism? I would be curious to know.
Yeah, like when I started advocating for men, I in no way, shape, or form was like, wow, let me see how I can piss off feminists. Like, it was purely like, these are the issues that are going on. Let me talk about it. But we live in a world where it's like, it's either black or white. There's no in between. So
There are evidence to other movements, such as, I don't remember the name of it, but the movement that came right before the 4B movement. That one, they admitted they made as a retaliation to misogynistic things. And what they would do is they would take like misogynistic tweets. Let's say men who are like, women can't cheat, but men can. And what they would do is they would just kind of flip that tweet to be like, women can cheat, but men can't.
you definitely have a whole career. It's just
Yeah.
one of stupid books.
Exactly, and so like they started their mission as a direct response to kind of draw more attention to these social issues, which is valid and fair. But like, I just don't think that there's that same history with any kind of MRA movement. Don't get me wrong. I think there are going to be trolls in every group. You know, especially like, you know, the conservative spaces, liberal spaces. They're all both filled with like antagonistic trolls who just like to say things to piss off the other side. But like, I'm pretty sure the reason that men ask for the draft to be ended is because they don't want to be sent to war without their full consent, not because they want to own the women.
I 100% agree. I think it's been hijacked by a lot of bad faith actors. You know, blame women for problems that you should blame the patriarchy. Exactly. And it's very frustrating because I'm on this side because I think that there is genuine problems that I think need to be addressed. And I'm sure we can all agree. Like, what are some of those problems? High suicide rates. Men are 4 times as likely. I don't know what the TikTok version of the phrase is, but you know, 4 times more likely. I think that's an issue we talked about more. I think that there's also a lot of men are very hesitant to get rid of the notions of patriarchy, whereas I've noticed a lot of women or assigned female at birth people are very willing to just throw away any notions of femininity. I think a lot of men have a lot of emotional baggage from the patriarchy that they redirect at women, and it's not fair to them, and it's also hurting us. And the problem is for some men, all they have is their notion of masculinity to the point that they cannot let it go, and they can't see anything else other than that. When the actuality is, again, gender isn't real. We're just plants with complicated emotions. When I look at people, I just see human-shaped flowers.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would say that a lot of
No, we are animals that are various shades of wheat. That's really stupid to think that. It's really stupid to think that the gender binary is somehow holding men back. And to claim that it's holding them back in such a way that they are trapped by something that is just inherently true of our species. Men are attracted to women. Women are usually attracted to men. Usually they will change this based on them having made a choice, or they are being affected by the experiences they had with other people in their life, or trauma that has set them onto a path where they now have an interest caused out of that stimuli. You need to have men and women to be able to work together in order for them to create society. Without men that can add to and create society, society crumbles. That's why society's crumbling right now. He don't get it. He don't see it. He don't see it, he don't get it. It's okay. It's alright. You don't see it, you don't get it. It's okay.
a lot of these men's rights activists.
To be honest though, what do you
I
think
don't
about
know what patriarchy they're talking about. Like, what patriarchy? Like, is it the 1%? Like, the fact that there is majority men in, like, politics and, like Hollywood? Because there's majority women in, like, education and therapy, which I would argue makes more of an impact than these, like, 1%ers. Like, I'm just wondering, what part of patriarchy are we really still, like, living through?
Yeah,
Like, if it's active for me, I don't know.
I will say when it comes to the topic of patriarchy, like I definitely am one of those people that like acknowledges that the structure of what people are trying to describe exists. But the reason that like I hate when people just default to blaming everything on the patriarchy is because the discussion right now isn't really helping. Because usually, not all the time, people who bring up the patriarchy are talking about it as this like monolith that involves all men, and they're not talking about it realistically enough as the way that you do. That they're really talking about the highest 1% of men, and no one really gives a fuck about the rest of the 99%. Men are just as disenfranchised by whatever this concept of patriarchy is that has been defined over all these years. The reason that I don't really talk about it very often is because it doesn't seem to help to just constantly be saying like, oh well, you're men, so you did this to yourselves. Like,
It's
great,
not
now over
helpful.
here, though.
It's not helpful to talk about the ephemeral patriarchy, because the ephemeral patriarchy is ultimately only ever going to be an excuse to ignore the concept of per capita. As we've seen and as we've talked about multiple times concerning takes or the charts popularized or made more aware by Homath, including his own illustrations, ultimately, all those people in patriarchy that are considered not men are the victims. But you're blaming the victims for what the system, as dictated by men that are powerful and the women that enforce the norms, do to them. They will never be able to fix this void because they don't have real power in this dynamic. They can't solve the problems that society needs because they're being told, shown, or outright forced, pushed back, pushed away from the solutions because they're being told that you can't do that. It used to be that in order to enforce that, you ultimately are responsible for defending the notion of a position of softness that still enforces the iron fist underneath the gloved velvet hand. Yes, I agree with you. It is the equivalent of a woman saying to another woman that she's a 10 and telling her that, yeah, that's right, you should just keep playing stupid. Don't disagree with me. Say that all women are 10s, and I'm gonna continue fucking this 9 out of 10 and having his children and ruling over society in the position that I've been granted because I won the genetic lottery. Meanwhile, the 3 out of 10 that she's saying this to, in veiled language, is going to continue to think that she deserves to have a 9 out of 10. In past societies, the 3 out of 10 would be forced to have to choose options next to her. Another 3 out of 10. Maybe a 4 out of 10. If she's lucky, a 5 out of 10. And things below her. Because that's what she can get. A lady in waiting can't get the prince of the castle unless the prince of the castle decides to jump tradition or even obligation and choose them. You can't always be the Cinderella in any story with the hope being that it'll be you. Because it'll just never be you now. Because that's not how society, as designed by those taking advantage of the lovers of power, have designed them to be. Whereas now in this system, the 3 out of 10 will not even look in the direction of the other 3 out of 10. Because any man that's below 6 out of 10 and doesn't have anything to offer her, whether it be through monetary or emotional support, if this is a woman that isn't malevolent and evil, will see them as not a choice. Which is unfortunate, because all of those men, not just the 10 out of 10 and the 9 out of 10, but everyone that's beneath that line of tolerance, they're all the backbone of that society. If all those women aren't helping uplift those men and give them something to live for, or making the relationships that become the boundaries and the foundations upon that society on which to sit on, you could say on taxes. I would say on relationships that then produce the children that then refilter that society, it will systemically crumble. The key word in that sentence is systemic. Because, take the example of Britain. British countrymen and countrywomen are watching a migrant race outbreed them. Japan is watching the men of their society be terrified into not breeding to the point that they are asking anybody to come overseas, either with their own family members from their own races, from pre-established marriages, and move into the country and bring wealth to the country, or single men that may or may not have prospects go to the country, be a part of the dating pool, and breed with the countrywomen to bring up the birth rate of the country. Americans are watching the rat race of the almighty dollar crush them into nothing. Where men like myself, if they're still single, feel like there is no hope for them to find a relationship. Women my age, if they are not paired off, cannot help themselves in feeling that they can find a relationship for themselves at their age. And then even for the women who have partners, they are looking to use hypergamy to monkey branch to a better position if they're not capable of having anything even resembling love for their partners. And that's just speaking on the monogamous part. That doesn't even cover the non-monogamous. That doesn't cover the polyamorous. That's not even saying that the particular systems being described would or wouldn't work with creating a stable relationship. It's just on the factor of creating stable households in which to rear children. But, you know, as long as the concept of the double income or triple income or quad income no kids concept continues to be a trend and a movement that people want to support with, where they want to be able to have money for themselves, to be grown adults and do nothing with themselves and thus act like grown children, then the outcome and the result is still the same. Society will crumble because there's not enough people that are creating enough things to help, and there are too many people who are focused on trying to be the entertainment and the bread and circuses to actually build the rigging for the fucking circus tent. I'll be right back. My nose is being smelled fucking raw. I can't breathe without feeling pain when I inhale. Hopefully, this will help. It's going to be hot. I'll see you start on my crock pot. I wish I had a fucking dropper so I could put shit in my nose. But then I'd snort. Because I feel like I'm drowning. Okay. I mentally lost my place because I needed to start thinking about what I needed to cook.
Because it doesn't seem to help to just constantly be saying like, oh, well, you're men, so you did this to yourself. It's like, great, now where do we go from here, though? Like,
Yeah, I was literally just gonna say that. Talking about the patriarchy is like so redundant. It's like it's a one-man argument because it's easy to chalk up these issues to this like big ominous ideology, but you don't get to. There's no solutions there. Like how do you gain solutions over like an ideology and a system and a hierarchy in society? That's not getting to the root of the problem. You're just it's like blaming the Illuminati. Like it's there, but like what are you gonna do about it? Like is that gonna solve the issue? Like no, there's the root of the issue here. You know?
If they're struggling, like you said, they're suicide or heart deletion, whatever, supposed to pass with Ray, names or yeah, and the way that they're coping with it is by saying, okay, we're having this issue, so we need to put women back. Exactly. And for this, yeah, we need to take away their rights. We need this society to be the way it was, where like all the rights that were afforded to people, it was men. Men are the first people to get rights, and then other people have to, especially white men. Then everyone else has to catch up to them, and because they're struggling, they go, oh, let's turn the clock back. Number one, that's impossible.
well, you look like you have something to say.
Who, except for Pearl Davis, is the only men's rights activist, and she's not a men's rights activist, because she's extremely harmful to men, is the only men's rights advocate that I have ever heard say these are men's issues, so let's pull women back. And she had said it. She says that women shouldn't vote and they shouldn't drive because they didn't die at war. Okay, well, Pearl is like not even human. I don't even know where she's from. It's not here, because like the space between reality and wherever Pearl is like galaxies in between.
Nepo
He's
babies
the
are
only
kind of a
person that advocates for women to like fall back. Nobody is saying to women, hey, men take up the majority of the homelessness. We think it should be you guys. Men take up the majority of the suicide rate. We think it should be you. Nobody is saying that, except for Pearl.
Yes, and I'm gonna get into that too once we let Pearly have a few words here too.
I'm not going to turn the clock back. And number two, I don't think that's actually going to help the issue.
It's not really help. There's no indoor of the suicide current. I think I would say maybe we have a little bit of nuance that women actually attack suicide more often. That is when men are successful as an indicative they're more likely to own a firearm or use it. But in terms of like men fighting for rights,
God, the whole like argument there is always such a weird talking point. But yeah, that's always like the first like hair trigger response is whenever someone's like, men are unaliving themselves 4 times more than women. Someone's always like, well, women try to more, and it's like, oh.
But they don't succeed.
I'm gonna stop Thor before she even says it. Men commit and succeed at suicide more. Women attempt it, but don't succeed because all of their things to attempt suicide is cries for help. Which, when you feed that back into patriarchy, women have it worse. Therefore, anytime a man loses his life, don't cry for that guy that's already dead. What about this woman who's still bleeding onto the floor? His suffering's already over. She has it worse than him. Despite the per capita factors that would have brought that man to end his life, you end up right at the same thing that I talked about before I went to the kitchen. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it results in people upkeeping the status quo that the Church of Women in Worsting must have this work out for them. There's no other way for it to go other than women have it worse. How dare you say that women don't have it worse? How dare you take away their victimhood? It's a victim guard.
See, because there's more help. I know, like I'm a woman. I have taken 4 attempts on my life. First one starting at 15, and every single time there was organizations, my staff members, my key workers, hospitals put so much energy into me because as a woman, I'm allowed to be emotional. I'm allowed to say, this is too much for me. I have a lot of trauma. Men aren't allowed to say that. So like, it's the exact same thing as when I was in that documentary, and I said the domestic violence rate is 50-50, and he said, yeah, but women die more in domestic violence situations. What is your point? What is your point? Like, I don't get it. It's such a like, and it's just a yeah, but argument. Like, this is why we shouldn't care. This is why it's not a big deal. And it's disgusting to like trivialize suicide like that, honestly. It's
yes, and again, it's just ironic because these are the same people who are like, men's rights activists can never bring up their own issues in their own spaces. They always walk into women's spaces, and that's when they want to bring it up. And yet every time people are like, men, suicide, bad, they're always like, but women, and it's like, no, this is not your time though.
movements that attempt to fight for rights for particular groups, that sort of description should be exclusive to genuine social justice movements. You know, they're meant.
I love how he is just moving his hands around in every single frame, and every single time he says a syllable or word, he's got to make sure to throw it up for the motherfuckers in the hood with blood. That's crazy.
there may be disparities in ways in which the patriarchy does disadvantage men, but I think that you can't co-opt the language of it being a social justice or rights-based. No, that's the problem. Isn't that like I have this thing where I feel like saying that like men have feelings is kind of like saying all lives matter, because men only ever bring up their problems directly after women bring up their.
What did we just say? What did we just say? How they always say this, and then what have you been doing the entire duration of this prompt, y'all?
So just as dismissive, and that's the problem. Is that for a lot of men, I think we feel so uncared for by society. We feel so like we don't really matter unless we prove our worth. Yes. That anytime any social movement gets any sort of traction, we just immediately just bum rush that. It really leaves me wonder that there are rational men for activists seeing it so much.
What a stupid thing to say. Anytime there's a social.
Because the men are being left behind. They bum rush the movement because they're being left behind. There are enough men that have taken note that if they don't make their voices heard, they will not be ignored. And even when they don't, they put in so much work to hope that they aren't the ones that suffer next. And when people say, hey, you should probably make space for guys, they didn't scream at the top of their lungs, fuck you, how dare you make us have to think about those men. It's like reminding somebody at a fucking potluck, make a plate for the guy that didn't get here yet. Or make a plate for the guy that's outside working in the field. If they're not physically in the building to advocate for themselves, nobody thinks about them, so they get left behind.
Movement, men want to be involved. Wow, no way, Ariel. You're really telling me that whenever something big that could positively affect society happens, that maybe 50% of that population might be interested in getting involved?
Yeah, but also it's like a part of I want to call it like social science, like how humans interact with each other. This is how like evolution happens, and like the evolution of like social issues. When you see one person, like getting support and like validated, you think to yourself, wow, here are things that I'm going through. Maybe I can get some of that support and validation too, because we're human beings.
Right. It's the same people who get mad if you are listening to their story and then you're like, oh, that reminds me of something that happens to me, and they're like, why are you hijacking the conversation? Like, it's the human experience to be able to relate to other things. That's all it is. No one's trying to steal your thunder or like one up you. Well, some people are.
People are, yeah.
People advocating actors for women's rights to be peeled back for them to feel comfortable. I think so, but I think the problem is that a lot of them, again, people who are so rooted in their gender bother me because it only hurts you. It only hurts other people around. It's hell like the idea of like the problem is that men are allowed to express anger, but not allowed to express sadness. Women are allowed to express sadness, but you can't express anger. It's like a bitch. Yeah, exactly.
I've never heard one men's rights activist talk about like men, the loneliness epidemic, and men not having friends.
Okay, then you don't listen to enough men's rights activists. Yeah, because we're definitely talking about it. Like I literally just made a video telling men, like, did you know that women actually get really sad that you don't have friends? Like, please, if a man has ever been there for you, like, take care of them. Like, I just made a video like that. I don't know what to tell you. If you're not hearing that, it's because you're not listening. But your anecdotal experience of you probably avoid men's rights content as a feminist that you haven't heard it. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Probably because they saw a couple Pearl videos and were like, wow, this is men's rights advocacy. I got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, we gotta keep watching so we can get to Pearl.
Always a women's problem.
No, I agree.
They don't want to date you. They don't want to like. They never talk about it.
Never.
Okay. This is a great opportunity to bring in our disagreements, but I ask that we listen to what they have to say before we disagree with them.
So the perspective that I come from, realizing about even years ago, I wanted to know why men didn't want to get married anymore. I kept hearing them say I don't want to get married, and it kind of took me down the rabbit hole with family court. I started interviewing men about if I'm what's called divorce rate, and I kept finding guy after guy after guy that lived a couple miles from his kids and could not see them.
She's gonna make some good points here, but I'm about to pause it to express some things.
It goes back to men should have access to their children. It's 50% their DNA. They should get 50% custody off of that. And right now, 90% of the time, women get custody.
Okay, so
that's not true. See, this is what drives me crazy about her. She uses I feel, I think, I heard, and then throws out statistics that aren't true. It's not 90%, it's like 60.
I was gonna quote 80%, which the fact check on screen seems to agree with. But this is my thing: is I'm so terrified of Pearl starting to attach herself to the father's rights movement, and here's why. My thing that scares me about Pearl is she always starts with something that's true. She'll appeal to something that's very, very undeniably true, and that could be something like the men's suicide rates or men's depression or again family court. But then Pearl has this thing about her, this troll 4chan-like part of her brain, where she has to take things to the most extreme level. And I don't know if it's for views, to be a grifter, to just have like the most amount of eyes on her because she thinks it's funny.
It's the same thing that Chloe Roma did to ingratiate herself to the movement. Fuck you mean?
But like she takes everything so extreme. Like she took it to when she was like, you know what? Men have some problems with women. True. Women shouldn't vote. Yo, what the Or like there's some issues with birth control. Right. True. Women shouldn't have access to birth control. What the So it's only gonna be a matter of time before Pearl starts taking the father's rights movement and starts saying some crazy shit like, and that's why men should have sole physical custody right off the bat, and women shouldn't even have custody. And she's gonna make us so discredited. And like I don't want to say too much because there are always moles listening, but I can tell you as someone who has been having these intimate Zoom meetings with senators, legislators, and major organizations throughout the United States every single week, and we're about to start major training blocks. We have a real chance of introducing real 50-50 legislation for unmarried fathers to almost every state in the next 5 years, genuinely. And if Pearl touches this, she's gonna f it all up.
That's how I feel about the men's rights community, because she, especially with that whole 16-year-olds are hotter than 26-year-olds, like people look at that and they're like, oh wow, like this is men's rights advocacy, and they're right. Pearl is the type of person who will like say, this is what men are going through, so let's take rights away from women. But she said when she responded to that whole 16-year-old thing, she's like, oh, I'm just trolling. And so for me, I'm like, okay, so how does that help men? You're trolling. You know people are gonna take it seriously, so you care about men so much that you're willing to like make it seem like their leader, their champion, is championing for pedophilia just because you think it's funny and it's a troll. Like she doesn't care about men or these topics. She's 100% like a grifter, because when you care, like you care.
Who just asked him was.
Well, that's the point. Pearl's using it as a platform to be able to get guys that will look at her and say, well, she must be one of them ugly bitches. Look at her. She's a 5 out of 10. A 7 out of 10 when she finally learned how to fucking take photos and use makeup correctly. And nude tones that complement her skin. She doesn't give a shit. No more than Molly Yiannopoulos gave a shit. No more than Ian Strong gives a shit. They don't have skin in the game. The most she will ever feel impersonally shamed about the shit she got involved in. We don't have a full team. We're gonna die. Lord have mercy. Let's hope we get through this building. Where was I? There are clear examples of people that don't really have skin in the game. And for the most part, will never truly have skin in the game. Because this shit is not real to them. It doesn't matter to them. The shit that they're on about and the shit that they want to be on about has nothing to do with their personal lives and the involvements they take in the shit that is directly affecting them and where they live or where they come from. It only will ever be, I use this to build my career. It will only ever be, oh, I'm using this topic to be able to build a career for myself to make money off of it. And then they fuck off to parts of known. You need people to care about the fucking space and to care about the fucking movement. Fortunately, Dadvocate happens to be a person who does do that. So, for Lauren's case, she has stake in the game. I mean, I care about my own self, and I'm not arguing for my own obsolescence. So, despite not identifying myself as a men's rights activist, let alone a egalitarian or feminist, I argue for on-the-ground, real solutions. Because it doesn't help us to have a person not understand how important it is to give a shit about your fellow man. I think that kills. Yeah. For whatever reason she's doing it for, the general idea is views. Because Jubilee knows that's what people tune in for. They tune in for the contrarian shit. They want it. They love it.
Do men have all of their rights? How can I say that they have all of their rights when I'm finding guy after guy after guy that is devastated he can't talk to his children? I had one guy who the woman got custody, and she ended up taking the kid to a different country. And now his kid doesn't speak his same language. He spent $300,000 trying to get that kid back. I want to look at women's stories as to why they don't want to go try, and I could interview 1,000 women. You looking hard, these kind of other men.
What she is discussing are individual and yes, tragic cases, and we can acknowledge that. But we're discussing a systemic issue. On aggregate, men and women after divorce, women see a 27% decline in the reduction of their income. They're more likely to be in poverty, and they're less.
Here's the likelihood. What happens to those women in those societal relationships? If they're a stay-at-home parent or a stay-at-home wife, they have to get back into the workforce. If all of their income came from one breadwinner, and their job was to upkeep the home and domicile so the money could continue to flow, and she left for reasons that were not serious issues. She wasn't being beaten on. She wasn't being cheated on. She did it because she decided it was time. She needed to move on. She needed to upgrade. As some dumb women have claimed and have motivated others to do, break up with your man because you're comfortable. She now has to enter back and work from a position to regain herself to a point of wealth that is good enough to keep her up. Otherwise, fuck do you mean? If she does it to herself, then it's something that she's doing to herself, at her choice. Who fucking cares what happens to that person? I'm sorry, but that's not an excuse anymore. This is the outside of what happens when you start using per capita as a justification. Because what about all those other guys? And what about those other girls? What about those widowers? What about those widows? fuck them, I guess.
It's like when he has to remarry, he goes around the world.
That is true. I will say that people say that like women do super well after marriage, but like overall, it does seem to indicate that they tend to suffer. What's really interesting though is I read one statistic, and I can't cite it unfortunately. So again, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I saw one stat though that in kind of contrast showed that most women who own their own homes are divorced. So kind of a weird like mix of that statistic.
Yeah, I want to know what men are thriving after divorce too. Like, does anybody thrive after divorce? Like, don't both people take a financial hit, a hit in their community? Like,
definitely less women are homeless after divorce. We know that.
Yeah.
You know, one that still goes on today.
Going back to the family court thing, because we want to talk about traditional relationships, and that's how it should be. The mom should stay home with the kids, and the dad is the provider, and all that. But then when it comes to the family court, we want to be like, oh, dad's 50% custody. Like, you don't even know your kid. You've been off providing all this time, and the only reason now you want 50% custody is because that's the only thing that still connects you to the woman, or whatever reason you have.
I'm sorry, did you just suggest that the only reason that men want 50-50 custody is so that they can have some kind of connection to their ex?
That's disgusting. Considering statistics show that in this time that we are living right now, fathers are the most active they have ever been in history.
Well,
they have more roles in their children's everyday, day-to-day decision making with like doctors, with schools. They're just overall like fathers are more connected to their children now more than ever. So like, yeah, to suggest that is really disgusting actually. And if we want to talk about equality, like does it go the same way? Like, can we address how many women have babies just to stay connected to a man they love? Like, come on, like that's not even
accidentally just slammed women. Like she literally just accidentally just slammed women so hard because not only did she say that ignorant ass shit on the USS Cringe, thanks Cerberus, about men only wanting to see their kids as to keep some connection to their ex or something, but she also suggested that a full-time working parent doesn't know their kids. Does she even realize that half of all wives are now earning as much or more than their husbands? So she just low-key told all the nurses, teachers, like other healthcare workers, secretaries, medical billing, pretty much any working woman, you don't even know your kids unless you're a stay-at-home mom.
But it has nothing to do with the children, how it has to do with
If you're not at home with your child and watching their development and watching their growth and helping them through all of those development growths, are you a parent? How do you feel about that single player, Carl? Parent who's the head of two households, or rather joint parentage and ownership of two households, while being a stepfather. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like you don't know your child because you're not there every step of the way for his development? No, I make and take pictures. I can't be there for every single moment simply because of circumstances and factors that don't need to be discussed on a live stream. But I make my will known where I can. And I make the memories count where I can. Most people should. If somebody says some ignorant shit like that, they just don't understand it. They don't get it. And it's okay, they don't get it. They're clueless. They're completely clueless. Heartless, clueless.
I'm their father. I deserve 50% custody. But where were you the first 10, 15 years that we were raising the kids?
Thank you, Dagmar Burma.
They need their mothers or their fathers more. Men and women complement each other.
Thank
that is
you.
what I'm saying. Some men are more masculine, some women are more feminine. My girlfriend's more feminine, I'm more masculine. We go very well together because our values align.
What is
no, but hold on. What is feminine to me? She wants to take care of children. She wants to.
So that's feminine.
To me, it is. To me, it is. That is what I want in a woman. You can only speak from. I can name the stuff, but I'm talking about me. I'm talking as a person.
What about the stats for all the fathers who leave and don't pay child support? Isn't that far more common than these men who are...
Or men who do get rights.
No.
No. It's actually much less common to hear that. Just amongst the black community alone, it's actually more likely to see prescient fathers than it is to see bums. Bums are they're not vogue anymore. Men are trying. Men are trying, men are talking, men are seeing, men are discussing. And they're not being lazy about shit. They're talking about real issues and real problems. Just in the black community alone. It's necessary for women to be told by the, quote, men that they claim are the top of the barge that, hey, y'all fucking trash. Because they're so used to being told they've done nothing wrong. That otherwise, none of this shit fucking matters to them. They're being given confirmation bias that says that they're not the problem, so they continue being fucking shit asses. Meanwhile, the deadbeats are actually coming from the white communities. Granted, there are more women in the suburbs that find themselves doing what they're doing by multiple resolves that it just works out that way.
Oh, actually, men who don't pay child support is not as common as men who pay child support, or better yet, men who don't need to pay child support because they remain in the child's life. That's actually not more common, in fact, at all.
which they only do 50% less than women do. When men want primary custody, they only file the appropriate paperwork 40% of the time. Women do over 80% of the time.
Okay, let's talk about this though. Because when do women inherently have to file child support? How often do women even have to file anything? How often do women have to file anything versus men? When in 45 out of 50 states, women, unmarried mothers, are automatically sole legal and physically custodial. They don't have to file the paperwork as often as men. So this is not even a fair thing. The only time a woman would even have to file paperwork for custody is if another man filed first.
Well, can we talk about how unfair that is anyways? Like, why do we live in a society where if we don't work out, somebody has to file to the government to have rights to see their children? Like, I couldn't imagine a judge now saying, hey, you know, you make the majority of my money, so actually your role is to provide for this family. You are now a weekend mom, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's my child. Like, why is this? They're speaking about this as if it's so normal, and in fact, it's just proving the point that, like, fathers have it very, very shitty. They're highly disadvantaged because, like, why should we even have to be filing paperwork for our own children? Can we just get to that?
And we complain that they're not getting. Courts don't give you something that you're not asking for.
So what are you saying?
Why do they have to ask for it? In 45 out of 50 states, why do unmarried fathers whose paternity has already been established have to fight for custody?
Exactly.
And choose not.
Because the mothers don't want them. Simple as. They have to fight for it because the mothers don't want them to have any kind of tie to the child. They would rather them have no tie, no rights, and no ability to see them, versus any other example they could have. The amount of times which I have watched the exact thing happen in the DFACS office, it's one of the main reasons I'm not an absentee parent.
Not to support their families. They will responsible. That's to say that to assume that fathers don't care about their kids at all. So why are they actively fighting for their kids? They are. It wouldn't
Why do they have to?
It's an issue for a reason. There are lawyers that specialize in this. They wouldn't have a business if it didn't happen. I know at least for you and possibly for Pro, you guys want to reaffirm traditional masculine rules, which does not assume that men are the nurturing ones. And if that's going to be the case, then you're going to continue to run into the problem where men are going to get custody because women are going to be seen as the nurturing gender. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy if you don't want.
Women are seen as the more fulfilling gender because women in society have claimed that women are more nurturing, despite the fact that there are some people that are extremely fucking horrible to everyone around them, including themselves, and most especially the children. Like, y'all's ass finna get beat on these allegations, no matter what. There's no walking out of them.
Want that to be the case, then it makes sense to stand with feminists and want to dismantle those sorts of norms and expectations around what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman.
You can't dismantle those expectations because you're always going to have a need in society for somebody who's able to make sure that shit gets done. It's not because they are not capable, it's because it's necessary. There are times where when shit goes fucked, you're not looking for women, you're looking for men. One of the greatest fucking memes for employment. When they start serving lobster, and the recruitment ads stop showing women and start showing battle-hardened men, you know that your country's gonna go to war. It continues to be a meme that will never not be true. Because it's just true. All the drill sergeants that live here in town or live on formerly Fort Benning, now Fort Moore. Thanks, fucking political people. That have proven time and time again. Oh yeah, they will pull out all the stops when they think the shit's about to get fucked. It continues to be true. We cannot expect to dismantle biological imperatives. Men want to protect women. Women want to protect society. Women can get right down in the dirt with men. But if you offer a woman an easy life versus a hard life, there's going to be more women who's going to take the easy life. Because they don't care. They want to be princesses. They don't want to be the warrior damsel. They want to be princesses. They want princess treatment. They want to have the status that comes with power and money and fame and fortune. They don't want to struggle. They want it easy. You offer the same thing to men. They'll probably want to have that too. But there's going to be more men that say, I want more out of life than this. When we start running out of those people, society's going to crumble even faster. It's just a fact of the matter. You can't dismantle someone's desire to have something more for themselves in this life than just being able to order DoorDash and sit on their fat ass making money off of somebody else's shit. There are going to be people who are going to want something more than just feeling like they're not serving their country enough. So they go into service, and they serve dutifully. there's going to be people that want something more than just, I want to go to college, but my parents, or rather my mother and her sisters, are telling me that not only should I be going to college to get a degree, I should be going to college to get a husband. There is always going to be people that are going to have an imperative that tells them how to live their life and what they're going to feel comfortable and happy with at the end of the day when they lay their heads down on their pillow and they sleep in the darkness. You cannot unlearn society. The more you keep trying to treat people like they're computers that can just download a new paradigm, the more you're going to slam up against that problem. It's like assimilation. You can't expect a person to assimilate from a different culture if they do not value the culture of the place that they're going to be living in. That doesn't mean they have to give up the culture that they came from. They can have both at the same time. Because there's a difference between expecting a man that comes from India and is Sikh by culture, ethno-religious, to stop being Sikh while also being an American. But it is very much likely that a person that believes that women are dogs and that they should listen to men under the rights of Sharia as a fundamentalist thinks that they can believe that and then also be something like the face of a women's rights movement. It wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. And yet somehow, we allow people who inherently hate another gender to have a right in talking about topics about that other gender and their own gender. It's beyond bizarre.
I'd say it should be 50-50 custody off the bat.
Women experience more sexism than men. If you agree, please step forward.
Women are not experiencing more sexism than men per capita. But... sneeze. But, in the places where it matters, the sexism that they will face is going to be extreme and loud compared to the other sexism in other people's lives. This is a weird topic to have to discuss because now you have to start dealing with the other side of per capita. A man that finds themselves in a high-rise business, working in a Fortune 500 company, having to deal with the sexism that comes from women that think that he can't make it in that role, and the sexism that could inherently come to a woman that is in a cutthroat shark environment with other men that don't disrespect her as a woman, but disrespect her because they don't see her as a actual competitor, are two different forms of sexism and bigotry. If you want to take the Legally Blonde stance, supposing that a person isn't cut out for it because they're not the right gender is hilarious and fucking retarded. However, the flip side is also inversely true, depending on the situation you're talking about. Example, a male nurse. A male nurse is going to deal with the sexism that comes from being surrounded by a predominantly female field. He'll have to scratch and scrape and fight to be respected, just like anybody else. And he'll probably have to do so from positions where the people around him are in positions of authority over him, plus or minus age. I can tell you for an example, that was exactly what I felt inside the environment when I worked at Domino's. A woman who was 5 years my junior would actively make fun of me while I did the hard work that other people in the store were too lazy or unwilling to do. And yet, when I put in the hard work, I was paid with the tips that showed and provided that people appreciated the extra mile. When a person, female, came in from a different pizza store and started trying to encroach rules that were both not standardized and also not fucking gelling with the rules of that company, or the vibe of the store, she created a hostile work environment that made it impossible to continue working for the business. Because, first and foremost, she's directly fucking with my money flow by now making it so that the work and effort that I'm doing as a part of the person or the parts of the team that are willing to put their head down to the millstone and thug that shit out, now have to be told by other people who clearly cannot function in that environment, here's how we're going to do things. And then makes excuses for themselves to basically have the pick of their own litter and the pick of the financials that they believe they are deserved to have off the work and back and sweat and tears of other people. Not just myself, but others as well. Every environment is going to have something that's like this. Whether you can tie it down to sexism or just plain old good old bigotry is a question of whether or not you think it's because of your sex.
We're not even looking for sexism in men. Women experience more sexism. What the are you talking about? Men are told right from little boys to like man up, to not cry, not act like a little girl, to do this, to do that, to do the next thing. There's so many expectations placed on them. There's so much sexism. It is rampant. So like, how can you even say that? What's the metric? Who's measuring this? That's what I'd like to know.
You know, this depends for me. If you were to ask me, do women experience more sexism than men in the United States or in the West, that'd be a really tough call for me. If you were to ask me, do women experience more sexism globally, I think that'd be a lot easier for me to say yes. Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
But in the West, yeah, at this point, we've really bridged like so much that like now even the sexism is starting to be pretty equal.
It's worse for men because there's all of these trends, like the ick trend, and like there are all of these trends that are even these dumbass social experiments that paint men as monsters, like man versus bear and man versus poisonous M&Ms and all of this stuff. Like this is high grade sexism.
I don't know if I can agree that men experience more sexism. That's a really tough call, but yeah, I do.
I think it wavers. I think it's more normalized. I think is what I said. Not that they experience more. It's about what it's more normalized and it's more accepted and it's less called out when there's sexism towards men. So for me, I would rate that as a scale of like it being worse because sexism in itself is terrible. But when it's normalized sexism, that makes it like inherently more dangerous because now you're directly impacting mental health, addiction, all of these things, and like self-confidence on how men feel about themselves. So you want to talk about like toxic masculinity, but we're like always shoving it down men's throats, you know?
No, I don't know about like more, but I'm coming at it from like the point of view of like exactly like misogyny, men feel get hurt, but when it comes to misogyny, like sexism, women get hurt, killed. So when I think
what a stupid thing to say as a black individual. You goddamn troglodyte.
More, I think like, oh, they have more, they think more sexism. Yeah. Is the sexism like hurting you? Hey, no, I'm the same. When I heard sexism, yeah, that's all I mean. That's what I'm basically.
Is sexism hurting you if it's not directly killing you? Yes. There are people who are odious individuals in this world because when they needed somebody's help, they weren't given help. They were told, again, women have it worse, shut the fuck up, suck it the fuck up, don't cry your tears. Or they had to learn the hard lesson of, you're by yourself, no one's going to be there for you, no one's going to support you. So don't even complain about your issues, just hold it in. And it's responsible for making a lot of people into who they are and what they are. Because there was never anybody there for them. And they had to go for all that time, knowing that nobody was there for them, and that nobody was in their fucking corner. As long as that is the viewpoint from which you come from, when you say, oh, sexism like this isn't hurting you. Oh, you felt bad, you were surrounded. Let's use the example of the male nurse. Oh, you feel that it's bad that you're surrounded by women in a field of intelligence and technology? Are you threatened by women? Did them making jokes at you hurt you? That guy is going to be a monster. Because the people who don't see it, they're not seeing the friction. They're not hearing the comments. They're not feeling the groping. They're not seeing the unfair, unequal treatment. It's like saying the same thing with racism, you see? Aw, black man, someone said the hard R in your direction. Oh, you didn't feel welcome in your environment, but did their slur kill you? No, but it probably killed all of their desire to interact with people. Congratulations, dumbfuck, you have now ceded the ground to the Nazis, the racists, the bigots, and the general, misanthropic of society. Well done. Well done. Great talking point. Truly, the blackface of white supremacy.
My experience sexism, I don't disagree with that. I think the topic was just more sensitive, like you said. Just simple things as I was like, oh man, maybe it's 10 feet behind you, and like, just certain thoughts your head. Just simple ideas that you differently in the industry versus how as a man. When I hear sexism, again, like you said, I do more things. Do you know what I mean? Like for men, sexism, I think like hurt, I'm gonna fear for life, you know what I mean? As opposed to women, I think they genuinely fear for their life more, and I think we should work towards safe society for everybody.
I don't know, that's just so interesting that they say that women fear for their lives more because again, like men, we know that men experience more violence. Like we actually know this.
But it also makes sense. Like how can we really be shocked that women fear for their life when I feel like a lot of modern day feminism is like seeks to make women feel like weak and afraid. You know, like if we're constantly telling them that like men are predators, you'd be safer with a bear than you are a man. Like these girls are going to grow up feeling just absolutely targeted by the world. They're going to feel small. They're not going to feel confident. So we need to be like.
Well, that's by design, Chloe, as you and Lauren are aware. It's by design to make them feel scared and weak. It's not about empowering them. It's about de-empowering them. Wow, everybody misses. It's about making women feel small, and then making men realize the position of being slaves. It's not gonna help. Kappa. It's not gonna help. Because if you wanted them to have sanity, you clearly would not terrify them into believing that if they don't do a certain thing, it's going to result in them being victimized by the nearest man near them. That's stupid. So reinforcing the idea that women have it worse is going to lead to men believing that they are monsters just based on whether or not they're being mocked a lot. Then, when those girls grow up believing that every man is a monster, because they'd rather choose the bear, they're not going to have a fair competitive standard on which to operate from. Then they'll be really fucked. It just doesn't help. And most of them know that it doesn't help. But they can't help but reach out for it because it's a crutch.
Teaching our young girls there are monsters in this world, men and women, but don't forget to take note of all of the good men and women that are around you every single day. You know, that'll never hurt you.
And I think that's ultimately, was worth the sexual safety and the other examples.
Yeah, I mean, I think when most people empower our men and abuse that power by, like, the common joke, oh, she's fluctuated, like, we use the common joke, getting raped for women being sexualized and experiencing sexism, so common, that it's a regular joke that we all just go, she's fluctuated, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's funny, like, it's clear that since men have so much power, and now men are bigger than us, so if they want something from us, I think, like, they could just take it, they can, and a lot of times they do.
This woman just said that there are men that if they want to have things from you, they just take it and there's nothing you can do about it. I can promise you right now, if it was revealed that there are people in Hollywood that are just preying on the regular citizen, they probably would have burned down the Hollywood Hills themselves. But of course, we don't live in that alternate reality. We live in this one. And duh, obviously there are bad men in this world, and they will take things from people. But that don't mean shit.
So wait, can men just take whatever they want?
You're not against men's faces. We're saying that there is a greater need for men's faces and not
You guys are referring to violence that belongs to men. Most of it, it's serious violence. Most of the women that are getting killed because of violence, yes,
1 out of 3 women in the U.S. are more victims of domestic violence. Do you have experience from? I've been hit by women before, understand? Like, I've been hit multiple times by women. I'm 25 times, I'm also not 20 years experience. You know what I did? I just like, but if I were to go to the police, they would remove from the house. My ex-wife, when I was going for a divorce, told me that she lied to the police in order to file the divorce faster because it was taking too much time. So I'm trying to from you. Like, they will tell you this when we started for years, we have a chance to rekindle.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Violence is violence. I'm not saying that men are violent, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I've seen women as violent, it's just that it is not regarded in the same way, just as you mentioned. Now, men are not taken seriously either, and the point I want to bring to what you said, because you mentioned that earlier, you were saying that men are not encouraged to speak up their feet. I'm thinking that's true. Yet, you're bringing them down in the conversation. You're saying that being sexist towards a man is not as big a deal as being towards a woman. So on one point, you're saying that men should be able to show their emotions, to live their emotions, however term you want to use. When in the next sentence, you're saying that the emotion of men don't matter. No, their emotions certainly matter. And you can express like disagreement or even sadness if somebody's being quote unquote. I'm just saying
okay, Pearl,
the reality of the Sandria versus misogyny, it's not actually systemic. Just actually disagreeing with what men quote unquote expressing, which I think the majority of men reading the plurality of men are expressing those sorts of things, and Sandria is like something big.
Jesus fucking Christ. Man says a paragraph, he says a fucking book. Backwards.
Yeah, I'm 25, I'm also not 20 years experience. You know what I did? I just like, but if I were to go to the police, they would remove from the house. My ex-wife, when I was going for a divorce, told me that she lied to the police in order to file the divorce faster because it was taking too much time. So I'm trying to tell you, like, they will tell you this when you started for years, you have a chance to rekindle.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Violence is violence. I'm not saying that men are violent, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I've seen women as violent, it's just that it is not regarded in the same way, just as you mentioned. Now, men are not taken seriously either, and the point I want to bring to what you said, because you mentioned that earlier, you were saying that men are not encouraged to speak up their feet. I'm thinking that's true. Yet, you're bringing them down in the conversation. You're saying that being sexist towards a man is not as big a deal as being towards a woman. So on one point, you're saying that men should be able to show their emotions, to live their emotions, however term you want to use. When in the next sentence, you're saying that the emotion of men don't matter. No, their emotions certainly matter. And I think that you can express like disagreement or even sadness if somebody's being quote unquote. I'm just saying
okay, Pearl, talk here.
I'm saying the descriptive reality of saying that being sexist towards a man is not as big a deal as being towards a woman. So on one point, you're saying that just as you mentioned. Now, men are not taken seriously either, and the point I want to bring to what you said, because you mentioned that earlier, you were saying that men are not encouraged to speak up their feet. I'm thinking that's true. Yet, you're bringing them down in the conversation. You're saying that being sexist towards a man is not as big a deal as being towards a woman. So on one point, you're saying that men should be able to show their emotions, to live their emotions, however term you want to use.
So, I'm gonna call him Big Sexy. Big Sexy, bald man, 225 pounds of muscle, and fuck you attitude, calls out to the male twink that they are, in fact, out of pocket. Male twink then says, actually, it happens very less per capita, so it's not that big of a deal, so fuck you, so let's see where this goes.
in the next sentence, you're saying that the emotional matters. No, their emotions really matter. I think you can express like disagreement or even sadness at somebody's quote unquote. I'm just saying
Okay, Pearl, let's talk about
I'm saying the reality of what Sandria versus misogyny is. It's not actually systemic. Just on how factual disagreement with men quote unquote expressing feelings, which I think the majority of men or even a plurality of men are expressing those sorts of feelings, and Sandria is like some big burden on them.
I mean, yeah, why do you think most men are not speaking out about the fact that misandry affects them? Why do you think that is? You think it's because it doesn't exist?
Because most men, first of all, don't even know what the word misandry is, because we don't teach them. They know what misogyny is, so they don't know. I'd be willing to bet there are people in your chat that don't know what misandry is, and so they don't. It's like misogyny against women, but it's called misandry. Like, a lot of men aren't educated, but also, like, if we from a very young age tell men that they have to be, it's like how we tell women they have to be sweet and nice and, like, docile, and then we complain that, like, women can't stand up for themselves when they become, like, adults. It's the same thing. Like, if we're telling little boys that they need to be, like, strong and masculine and this, that, and next thing, we can't really wonder, like, why it is that they don't, either that they're not able to identify what's happening to them, or they just don't speak up about it. They're not supposed to.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. Is like, why do you think most women don't speak up about issues that they have with other women? Because we get beat to the ground every single time we dare criticize another woman.
They're not demonized, but generally difficult for men to be selected by a lot of women, and the dating app stats will back that up. So again, you're asking about demonization, but the original question was, why does Leonardo DiCaprio celebrate? It's because it is hard. Being a sex worker is easy.
You just said he celebrated because it's hard.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is the part where they're having the discussion that she says that being a sex worker is not respected because it's easy. It's easy to take her clothes off. And he says to them, should Leonardo DiCaprio be respected if he was born good looking, born into wealth, and is able to pull a bunch of really young women? Why do we give him accolades for being able to do that, but not for people who were born good looking enough to be able to take their clothes off for money?
Trick question. Nobody's giving Leonardo DiCaprio a fucking accolade for being a good lecherous seducer. They're giving him accolades for being a good actor. And by him being a good actor, a popular actor, he then has the ability to be with multiple types of people. You see, he's getting a secondary reward from a second order magnitude selection and problem. Very interesting that he phrases it that way. If I was a more popular content creator, male streamer, and it was well known how much money and how much influence I could pull, obviously, they're now able to benefit from something that otherwise they would not be able to benefit from. Do it for the tune-up. Because the inverse is also true. Sabrina Carpenter, for example, Taylor Swift, Zendaya Coleman, Raven Simone, Sharon Stone, Kate Upton, Brittany Murphy, that one woman from Fleabag, I can't remember her name. I know it starts with a Phoebe. Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, any celebrity whose name you can read off the top of your head, whether they be female, cis, or trans. They get a second order reward from something that isn't inherently given to them, as part of the stature of the point they occupy in the hierarchy and in the wealth cycle of the beneficiary factor they deal with. That's like saying Kai Cenat could not close on Cheeks if he wanted to because he's a popular streamer. They know how much money he's got. If there was a woman that wanted to worm their way into Kai Cenat's life and get him to father their kid, unless he's not capable of judging it with the people that are around him, for whatever reason, he wouldn't be able to, it'd be a wrap. It'd be done. If there was a Brittany Renner of the streamer world that was running cheeks on men, it'd be done. There'd be no talking about it. This is guaranteed. But of course, that's missing things for the reads. It's still a stupid concept to say, because it's a nice, easy little thought experiment. Immediately snap back to reality like, wait a minute! He'd still have money though. And then of course, the reality of the issue. People wouldn't give him accolades, because how many people do you see out here giving flowers to King Nazir? You don't. You hear about situations of people who are supposed to go viral for being porn stars. Aw man, people who doubted this man's meat, they think he didn't have all that meat to be able to handle all that. But then he dropped the dot on the dick, and he proved he had it. Right now, that's probably one of the top fucking pinned tweets on one of Post's profiles. The problem is, do they think about that? No. and a single fucking person thinking about that porn star since the last time they talked about them or heard about them. But I can promise you, if I went into a group of those gooners, and I said the name Amber Blank, they could spin a conversation eternal about that topic. Which is kind of the fucking issue. It's kind of the reason why it's so fucking stupid.
Now, when it comes to like OnlyFans being easy or not, what do you think about that? Because like if it was so easy, then the average net payout per month would only be like $30.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I don't know. I mean, if you're somebody with like a large following, like maybe it's easy, but like, I would argue with Leonardo DiCaprio, like there's things he has to. He's not just respected because he can pull women. He's respected because he's an amazing actor and has been since he was like a young child. So like, I would almost argue, even sure, maybe OnlyFans is like, it's easy, yeah, to stay at home and just do your makeup and take your clothes off and get money for it. But as somebody who used to never had OnlyFans, but I used to do not safe for work content, and I can tell you that like the mental warfare is like it's real, and it's what like caused me to like stop it. It wasn't even other people's opinions. It was the fact that like making those videos like became hard. Like I didn't want to do it. I was putting it off, and it wasn't until I like really got into why I wasn't wanting to do it anymore, and it's because I feel good about myself that like I just stopped. So like I don't really think it's easy. I think OnlyFans models and men with porn addictions make it seem like it's just like really easy, especially the OnlyFans models on social media. They're like, oh, it's great, men just pay me to like exist, but they never talk about how much sexualization they get, how pissed off men can get when you don't deliver content that they want if you stop doing it. I mean, like there are people who are like literally like saying like I will find you and hurt you if you don't start doing it. It was really bad. Some people just get angry and abusive, and nobody feels good. Just being sexualized all the time, like it doesn't feel good. So I don't know. People.
That's because they don't know how to compartmentalize and segment their lives. That's why. For you, Chloe, you're fighting multiple demons at once. Real demons, but real demons that you chose. No one made you do it. You did it because you thought that you could be able to do both at the same time. You thought that you could advocate for men's mental health, but you could also be able to make money off those men that clearly need help with their paychecks and their wallets, and you just helped yourself to the money. But you couldn't square the circle anymore. That's your cope. The same way you couldn't look at the friend that wanted to be more than a friend, and you still have to live that shit down. What are they looking at? And you still have to live that shit down. It's the same shit the other way around. They can't square the circle. Lily Phillips is about to try to run a train of 100 plus more guys 10 times. 1,000 men. The woman could barely do 100. And then right after that 100-man melee, went and ran a Black Britain train. And yet, the trauma, the sheer trauma of finding out that for a lot of them, it's because they don't want to have to do more work than laying on their back, is bizarre. Bizarre. Because it's more women trying it than men trying it. If everybody in this world could be King Nazir, there'd be no taboo. If everybody could be Johnny Sins, there'd be no taboo. It's a pyramid scheme to start off with. You need other women to get into it in order for society to justify it as okay, to see it as empowering. Especially if you're talking about they're doing it as a choice, and they chose to do it, rather than they were pressured into doing it, or they were groomed into doing it. But then, also, at the same time, if they try to take the Chloe Roma route, if they, like Chloe Southern, decide they want to do sex work, and that they can also be activists, well, you're going to end up like Scooch's girl. You're going to end up like Scooch, unable to climb out of gold, making content from gold, saying, "Mamma mia, look at my woman's ass! Hoo-hoo! I get this half that 2 times a week! Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching!" But everybody looks at her saying shit stupid off the top of her head like, I can be able to dress as this NB queer lizard, but also I can ethically give them the girlfriend experience. No. No, you can't. Of course, in her case, she's saying, I can do the girlfriend experience better than Riot Games. You just can't square the circle. That's it. There's no way to square that circle forever. For an amount of time, you can square the circle. But eventually you want more. That's the first thing. eventually you want more. Because in order for you to be able to do it for a long term, for longer than 5 to 10 years, on and off again, depending on the level which you're going to, there's one level where it starts at being a waitress at a restaurant. And then there's the scale of put on the string bikini and get blown out by 100 guys. Somewhere between the divide of here and here, you can be able to make a decision that helps with it. So for example, work at a restaurant where you have male coworkers that will jump over that counter and defend you should somebody get handsy. You can be able to live with this, right? You can live with that. Being a headhunter shark that lives in the corporate world, that is capable of using her intelligence, her body, and her wiles, and her guile to be the headhunter she is. You can live with this. You'd hope that you at least have a man to come to at the end of the day, whether that be a boy toy, or a younger man who's hag-maxing, or a husband that you've made a life with, and you can turn it off. And you can go to being his wife. And then go back into that environment, recharged and ready to face the fucking problems of the world. Because you can do anything as long as your man or woman is standing behind you. Versus, I don't have any prospects, so I'm gonna sell myself on the internet the moment I become street legal. There are more women, and some men, who find themselves making this decision in what I'd say is 15% compared to the remaining 85%. And the only reason they square this circle is because they're heartless. Those are your Twitch thoughts. Those are your e-girls. And just like from the video we watched the other day, from the reformed e-girl, it is a knowing choice that they have to make. It is a decision that they commit to. You, like her, decided it was no longer worth it. But for every one of you, there's 1,000 Emrats. And then the ones that claim to, quote, not sexualize themselves. The VOs, the Farhads. Although Farhad seems to be infantilizing yourself. More in DGG later. For the Pokemains, for the VOs, for the Valkyries, they get to do the exact same thing. Except they get to be annoying and mean-spirited when they do it. They don't sell sex shit, but they are willing to do the exact same shaming tactics that women who do the sex shit do. They do the exact same boss babe, girl boss, bad attitude. It is what it is, pick a struggle. It is what it is, pick a struggle.
People think it's easy, but like it's really awful. The mental warfare of it is awful.
Yeah, I do agree with that. You know, it's definitely not easy, especially like on the psyche. But a lot of people will be like, well, you bring that on yourself. But I don't know.
And just also noted earlier that the guy is successful and going well and going to actually bodies also celebrate for sitting well.
I'll make a caveat. I would say even men still need to learn to be attractive to women, even if they're born into a naturally good looking. It's still that's fine. But some of the OnlyFans creators aren't attractive at all.
Oh, it's kind of not subjective. There's a lot of OnlyFans creators that are not fucking... They're not attractive. I would not necessarily say that Lily Phillips inherently is attractive, just because of her body type. And Lord knows, of all these women that you could go fawn on xhamster.com. Although, maybe not, because a lot of these porn sites are closing down and causing and requiring age verification. Because they don't want to have to deal with kids on the website. For all those people. Unless, of course, again, hag-maxing. No! They're not lookers. 4 out of 10s, 5 out of 10s, 6 out of 10s, 7 out of 10s with makeup, 7.5 with makeup, and good apparel. No, they're not the greatest lookers, but they don't gotta be. Because they're in a society where the thing that matters is, are you going to do what she is doing? Or what he is doing? And that's it. It is what it is, though, bro. Another way to think about it. Imagine Frogan did not wear her hijab, and that she was actually an OnlyFans girl, just like the rest of those girlies. Just like Denims. Imagine she was doing sexual shit for her money. Would you say the same shit? I wouldn't. And then, of course, the reality standard. There are more people that you could expect to see on the street that are attractive in their own rights, in their own ways, than you would specifically say there are, what's a nice way to put it, non-conventionally attractive women that would turn themselves towards that because they believe that at least when the lights are off, anyone can be attractive.
How come most OnlyFans don't
Because they don't care about money, they like attention. And that was the big thing, right? They want to be off of interviewing a bunch of OnlyFans moms, and I'll tell you that. A lot of them, they just enjoy taking off clothes and camera.
Well, let's hear from somebody who has experience. Do you want some?
That's absolutely not true. This is my I didn't have to be a professional. Instagram, I did not care about attention. I just wanted to make a lot of money, why people do it, why would they want to get attention?
So this is interesting. So she's both a lawyer and an OnlyFans model. Now, I will say, I think Pearl's probably right that the reason that most women are not making money is because they're only doing like half the work, which is the taking the clothes off part. But like, you do have to be a businesswoman if you want to like really succeed. You have to actually be kind of a marketing genius if you want to like push yourself. It's kind of like any other.
True. It has been well known over the years that if you want to get into porn, you have to be a business-minded woman. Same thing for the men, but most especially for the women. Since, hey, it's just like choosing your favorite streamer. If you don't like what I'm doing here, you could flick the channel, in terms of Twitch. You could flick the discovery page. You want to see another black male talking about a topic, or talking about a piece of content, or talking over something to do with something else, you could find another one that's doing it. Find someone with a better build, bigger chest, bigger frame, bigger muscles, longer hair, curls, 4C French braids, 4C micro braids. Same way that if you wanted to find a different woman, you could pick them out. You could pick your type, you could pick what's appealing, you could pick the fast food option, and you don't have to think about it, because it's a dime a dozen. You do have to be business-minded when it comes to that factor of society. All people should. Because if you don't think about it, you're not really using your best potential, your best intrigue. Spamming out content without a plan is not going to be as useful as having a plan and working off of it. Because moderate and generalized tips can only get you so far. You still have to have that critical eye. Some do, some don't. And even if they didn't for themselves with their own work, they probably could provide it to somebody else for their shit.
Any other business at the end of the day. That's interesting.
Well, I do. A lot of people do. A lot of people think you're very low. I don't believe those things. I don't believe it's advocate. I'm always trying to get to because that, right? These girls are not. A lot of people are going into this. I need exception. They don't have an option. They're not super educated.
Well, the problem here is that you're a lawyer and you're still selling your body on OnlyFans. So, like, what are we really talking about? First off. But then secondly, that's a really slow dig. That's a slow ram dig. These girls are not super highly educated than I am. I mean, in the age of the autodoc, nobody has to be as highly educated as you are, especially if they don't want to be a lawyer.
Other avenues to try to get in. A lot of people think it's not easy to make a ton of money. Because I had to do a ton of marketing. I had no social media following. You could say, okay, we look certainly whatever, but a lot of women ended it so easy. They wouldn't be not easy. Well, I disagree. There's no other option. You guys need jobs just like months. And number two, I look at what people say versus what they do. You might say you didn't care about attention, but I look at the way you behave and dress and what you keep. And you're more fancy. I don't know why. What do you think about attention?
That's the part I just wanted to settle in on, because like Pearl always does that, doesn't she? She always does this, I deem this outfit inappropriate for a wife. Isn't she always doing that? I deem this outfit inappropriate for a wife. And it's just so funny that she's like, well, I can tell that you, a woman who literally passed the bar and is now also enjoying her sexuality, is only doing it for attention and not money, based on the fact that you look like this.
Well, the problem is that in order for you to be able to do it, you have to actually have a desire in yourself to be seen doing it. You can't just do the job and clock in and treat it as though just put the penis in the vagina. You can't treat it like that. You have to have some kind of appreciation of your own sexuality. Because you can't say, well, she's already made her money like this, and now she's doing this as a side quest for fun. You do not get into porn for fun. No, you don't. You don't get into porn for fun. Don't say something stupid like that.
This, which, what does that even mean? And so the fact that she the fact is like, well, you're more scantily clad than I am. It's like,
I laughed so hard when that male influencer, he was asked why he thought that no men want Pearl Davis, and he said because she wasn't feminine or something. I think it's because she has no sex appeal, first of all, and she has no concept of like just sexuality. Like, she's so prudish that she like literally puts on her pearls and her weird ass grandma dresses and like, you know, speaks to other women who like, you know, have sexuality, have embraced their femininity, really embrace it, and just makes these like nonchalant, weird, incorrect judgments toward them. Like, you can just tell this girl has no concept of like sexuality, femininity, like especially to look at a lawyer.
True. This is probably the biggest reason why people shit on Pearl Davis, and would love to shit on Pearl Davis, when she chooses to speak and act the way that she does. Which goes into line with what I just said. You do not get into it if you do not have some concept or some security in your own sexuality. Doing it for money is one thing, but you still have to get up and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm sexually happy with what I have. I feel like myself in my skin. You gotta be capable of doing that. Otherwise, you're cooked. If you can't be able to do that, you're cooked. No ifs and or buts about it. If you can't do that, you're cooked.
And be like, and you know what? That lawyer probably had to have the OnlyFans to like pay for her schooling. That's why I'm a huge advocate for like, if women want to do OnlyFans to get themselves through school and then they get a career, like how dare you then try to fire that girl and tell her she can't have a career because of her OnlyFans? Like women should have a right to like grow and evolve and do what they have to do to get to the next step in life. And if they continue.
Let's take this example and let's use it towards drug dealers. Let's take this example and use it towards any person that has done unscrupulous actions in the world in order to make it through. Oh, damn! Hi, 80s, 90s, and early aughts rappers and singers and singer-songwriters. Oh, man, that's crazy! How the fuck did that happen? Well, I guess they should be allowed to keep their money because they don't have to do that much work. Harump, harump, harump.
Doing it because it's fun and they can, then like, just leave it alone. Like,
I know, yeah, I don't know what it's like to be in the background. You know, I've talked in the past about how like I think it's ridiculous to not hire people if they have tattoos, and how like there's really not many careers that I would judge someone for having tattoos unless it was like something horribly offensive, like a swastika or something. But like,
yeah, funeral home services, that's a big one.
But that is interesting, yeah, because I'm thinking about this. I've never like had to be in a management position where I've had to like firsthand experience how someone's past as a sex worker negatively influences the company. But I'm also having a hard time like really deciding like who is someone that I would no longer trust to do their job if I found out that they were showing their chocolate starfish on the internet. Like a plumber would not affect me. Like honestly, my even like one of my kids' teachers, like if it's not in the classroom, I can't like I really don't think that I would personally judge them. So that is interesting.
You know what?
It's a societal question. It's a barometer scale, a litmus test. Knowing that your son's teacher was doing OnlyFans comes up to whether or not you're made aware of it as something that they have long since stopped doing, or it's something that they're still engaged in doing. If they're still engaged in the behavior, that's different. Compared to, it's something that they did, they regret it, and they hope to change in the future. If, when he gets to the age of 5, I find out that his preliminary educational caregiver, kindergarten teacher, first grade teacher, because right now he's being babysat by people that we trust. If I was to find out that an educator that watches over him and educates him in school specifically did softcore porn, I'm not gonna care. Especially if it's something they did 10 years ago. If they are concurrently still making BBC cuck porn fetish and she's looking for a new bull, I'm gonna have words. I'm gonna have words for her. I'm gonna have words for her. Because that's different. Because I have to be able to trust that they can be able to balance the responsibilities of being an educator and keep it separate from those children, and they never find out. But of course, preschool children, they would never. Put them in elementary school. 3rd grade and up. The inherent risk of the kids coming across the content increases the likelihood in which it becomes inappropriate and you have to lose your job. Or you are expected to not be trustworthy enough to have it. Because who's to say that you're not going to try to make content off the kids? I weep that there are content creators on TikTok that they are educators, but at the very least, especially for the one by the name of Heinous Teacher, the one that has the prosthetic eye, she, at least when she does her content, is not involving children in it. She's just taking, for the most part, pictures and videos of her outfits, set to popular music. And she's gone viral for doing so, because it proliferates the feed. Meanwhile, content creators that used to sell their body to the very men that were at risk are on my screen. Alongside Pearl Davis, who uses bigotry, racism, sexism, misogyny, and all other tactics as a troll figure to get people to be involved with her and the shit that she's focused on. It's a vicious circle.
I think that that's why these types of spaces like stay away from you and I, and like, I don't know, call it egocentric, whatever, but you and I are like fucking logical, and we care, and we understand the root of the issues. We understand what is feminism, what is men's rights. You will never hear us on a podcast trivializing whether or not women's, what was it, our sexual
our sexual capital.
Sexual capital, yeah. Like, you will never see us debating these questions, and I think that's why these spaces like Jubilee and whatnot will never like reach out to people like us, because we'll make like an absolute mockery and like shut down the trivializing.
That's not the reason why. They don't reach out to you because you wouldn't make good content, or they do not believe you have the clout to be able to bring numbers. That's like saying that Abba and Preach did not go through what they went through to try and get Jubilee to figure out how they would make more money and bring more attention to their topics the way that they did. It's bizarre.
Bullshit that they try to do. Like, if I was there, I would straight up call out these questions. I'd be like, what does this have to do with men's rights? What does this have to do with fathers' rights, with addiction, with the fact that men are dying, the fact that there are all of these trends just shitting on men and treating them like garbage? Like, what does this have to do about the Me Too movement or any of these social experiments? Like, you're not getting to the root of any issues. You're asking these mundane questions that are meant to like trigger people, and now people are going to look and be like, oh, men's rights advocates care about women's sexual capital and whether or not they want to have babies, and they already do, because I participated in this documentary where I had to literally say to them, this is not men's rights. Men's rights advocates are not out here advocating for barefoot and pregnant. We don't give a shit.
Unless you
we
want
don't care.
Unless that's what you want.
It's just crazy. But chat, look, I have to run. I have to go.
We're losing Chloe.
I cannot finish it with you guys, but I will be watching, and I'll send a donation. And thank you to everybody who has donated to the stream and follows the advocate. She's great. Okay, well, thank you so much for having me, and give me a call when you're done the stream. It's been great.
I will. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day, Chloe.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye guys.
All right, we lost Chloe, but we shall continue on in our great adventure of cringe.
They need to go see a psychologist, or they just need to go to a retreat somewhere for a few weeks where it's just dudes. Because I'm like, and I'm assuming I have spent years alone by myself in meditation, just
You're alone.
And you know, the hardest thing I've done in my life, but I'm willing to do, I deal with the community of men. They might not be crazy people, but I have two guys that I can call normal. Does not matter what it is, but they're older than me. They're the age of my parents because I'm men older. And this is what men need. They don't need somebody to talk to them and make them feel better. They need somebody to be there. And this is, I can walk around with statistics with the numbers themselves, but after 30 most men are already friendly. They literally are alone, and that's why men kill themselves. They have nobody to depend on. They have nobody to call youngers. They threaten to say, yeah, the guy that you can go up there morning to say, bring a shovel. Don't ask why, but you bring a shovel. If you have a truck, like that. It's a door by friend, and most men do not have that. Yes, women do tend to go.
Wait, but I thought you said you've never heard an MRA talk about how the male loneliness epidemic could be resolved by having friends. I hope she doesn't say that after today because she just heard it.
This is a really bond. Just think about men can bond with men, but I feel like instead of doing that, they look at women to solve it. No, I agree with that. Actually, I think a lot of men are movement where basically we turn to women to use their emotional labor to sort of like, kind of solve their natural caregiving. It's not natural thing.
Boo! Emotional labor, boo! What a stupid talking point, boo!
I think we're researching each other. Like, again, I've been in 3 men's mental health spaces, and it's all usually just predominantly me, one of the rest of men, just talking about pretty much just how we feel about women.
I actually hear this criticism a lot where people are arguing that men use women for emotional labor. Like, you guys are allegedly so unable to handle, like, working through your own issues that you have to use women. And it's just, I know, I see a couple of you already like, emotional labor. It's like, this is the craziest thing, is a man will be like, I worked really hard to be a good partner to my wife this week. I, really took over most of the chores. I tried to take over most of the parenting. I made sure the bills were paid. And I scheduled a date night for us. I really just want to make sure she has a good week. And people will go, that's the bare minimum. But then a woman will go, oh my God, my husband wants to talk to me about how work went and about how depressed he's been feeling, and one of my other male friends is also trying to talk to me about his issues, and I'm like, this is too much emotional labor. It's like, but didn't you just say that it's the bare minimum for a man to be available for you emotionally? But when you do it, it's this like hard-pressed, wrung-out, high-stress labor that wears on you.
It's because most people are not prepared to do it. For women in society, they are not prepared to have to deal with the labor that comes with expecting someone to do what you normally would expect them and take the time to. Society does not tell them that they should. Men are supposed to handle that shit away from them, where they don't have to see it and don't have to hear it. That's cringe in and of itself. He did not fucking die. It's cringe in and of itself. But that's where that systemic issue comes in. It's a systemic issue that people don't take men's problems seriously because they don't accept that it's something that needs to be addressed. And of course, I'm being called randomly for reasons that I don't know. What? What? back yes. If that happens, I'm not going to let you eat those leftovers. So I might. actively refuses to eat it or eat it on time. And then, the roaches that are in this bedroom and are only still here because she will not let me leave this closet, unpack these boxes in the corner that are across from her chair in the same bedroom, where we now have to deal with, regrettably, my mistake, roaches being around me, that I have to handle them before they're crawling all over her sleep. She was already having before. That we wouldn't have that happen if I could just do that. And I'm actively preventing you from doing so. Two separate examples. If she's not ready to eat it, that's one thing. Directly telling me after it's already been prepared for her, no, I don't want that. I want this.
No, I asked you in advance, what are you fixing? You don't tell me. Exactly.
Because, for example, the list that's on that refrigerator, that she said, here's what I can eat, here's what I can't eat. It's like, yes. Not his words.
That was what he said to me.
I'm telling you what he actually said to me.
And he said, y'all, I'm not going to say what all my boys said. He said, feature this man in town. And then you have some names on it. Okay? Very certified. He said, otherwise, don't go first in anything. Amber is producing food and whatever non-products that we need. Okay?
You're convinced of me. That wasn't damage. She literally just wanted the business started. That's it. There's no ulterior motive behind it. She being serious. She made a card for everybody. She made the card for Angela, which is his maternal godmother, the same way she made one for Mom. And a bunch of other people. No, Mother. No, Amber. Angela is the maternal grandparent. They live a street over on the houses closer to Green Island. No, this card was made for Mother. I don't know what was in the card. No, that was her trying to show respect to Mother. I'm sorry that. Okay, Amber. Again, I don't know what was written on the card. Amber, is there something written inside this card that I don't know about, that you're upset about, that you can't tell me or haven't communicated to me? So there's sticker decorations in the card, but there's no handwritten message or anything. I don't have the card. She's gonna send me a photo. She's in the back. She's in the back. Oh, so. Amber, that's not helpful. I need to understand what you see as a threat with this card. I'm not seeing it. I need you to help me understand. She didn't write it. She didn't write it. I know that much. She did not make one. I know that much. So are you saying you hurt her, not me? Did not have Okay. Excuse me, chat. I need to handle something that just literally came up. I may or may not be back. See what happens.